Hello and welcome to the first episode of my new discussion series where basically another creator and I get on to continue the conversation from my main channel videos, which today was about Sanji vs Kuzan, and I imagine many of you are coming from that video, but if you found this one first, then I will leave a link to that down below. But in that video, I talked a lot about awakenings, specifically Kuzan's and maybe even Sanji's version of an awakening. So I thought it might be fun to go through all the Logia awakenings that we maybe will see or may have already seen in the story. And to help me break that down, I'm joined by none other than Sai. How you doing, my man?
I'm good, man. How are you? Dude, that was a great intro, by the way. This is your first one?
Yeah,
that was like
thank
you. Intro.
Well,
damn, I was like taken aback a little bit.
Oh, well, I appreciate that, man. I did have it kind of scripted on the side, so my eyes may have been darting back and forth. But only the intro, nothing else is scripted. Everybody, don't worry. I just
yes.
I was.
Nothing else is scripted, is what it says right here on my script.
I've been MIA on this channel for a few months, so I was like, all right, I gotta start with a legit explanation of what this is, because I'm sure the fans are wondering, like, oh wow, it's been 3 or 4 months, what's going on? So
it's a scam account.
Yeah, exactly. But Sai, thank you for joining me. I'm really pumped to talk about Logia Awakenings because this is something that I've been waiting for just to see for a long time, because early in One Piece, Logias were like the top dog. Like, everyone was scared of Logias. You either needed the elemental advantage to fight them or just hockey to even do damage, right? Otherwise it just went right through. And we've seen other awakenings, Paramecia and Zones, but Oda has not shown us Logia. So I think their time to shine is coming. Like, they started at the top and now we've kind of forgotten about them a little bit. And with the awakening part of it, I think that's where they're really going to shine again and kind of get back on top, or at least, even with the other ones. So
I really hope so, man. Like, when I look back at all these Logia users, because I have the list here pulled up on the side, and it's like, man, these guys, like you said, they were once really scary characters, but now, if we were to face them, they're not that threatening. I mean, Crocodile, splash him with water. Kizaru's being dealt with pretty easily as well. Caribou's a joke. Like, a lot of these Logias just aren't threatening, and I feel like that's very different from the where we started from. So.
Yeah. You're not scared of Caribou? Of the
swamp? I'm not scared of Caribou. I thought he was cool, though. When we first met Caribou, and he was over here suffocating people with his mud, I actually thought he would be a little bit of a menace. I was reading Weekly at the time, and when I saw Caribou, I was like, damn, 200 million berries? Like, this guy's a madman.
Yeah, and he was like kind of like a hard ass, where he's like, look, we're gonna kill this marine. Like, whenever he was like joining the fake Straw Hats, he was like, no, like, we're not being merciful. Like, we're gonna take him out. So, and it was funny because I remember you and I before the stream, we were talking like, I mean, if you want to talk about Caribou early, we can, but I have him listed later. But it's actually funny that you brought him up because the first person I wanted to talk about was Blackbeard, because he has the darkness Logia, and I think not that people forget necessarily, but because Blackbeard obviously got a Paramecia in the Guruguru no Mi, and a lot of people think he's going to get a third one in a Zone Fruit. We don't really think about the Logia aspect as much. It's kind of like a similar thing to what I said before about, Logias were top dogs originally, and now they've sort of went by the wayside. So I think his awakening, is going to be super special. But tying it to Caribou, we just saw that Caribou is like a big fan of Blackbeard, and honestly, their powers work somewhat similarly. Like, obviously, Darkness and Swamp are very different elements, in general, but you get like sucked into the swamp and it's like its own dimension sort of thing. You know what I mean? Like, he can hide like tons of stuff in there. Blackbeard can suck tons of stuff into his black hole, and obviously you get messed up. Like, everything gets destroyed in the black hole or the vortex or whatever whatever that attack is. But so they're kind of similar in that way, which I think is kind of interesting given that Caribou's now joining him, right? Or presumably.
Yeah, they're like working together hand in hand.
Yeah, and which, we'll see where that goes. I kind of have hopes that Blackbeard, maybe rejects it or just tells him, like, I already know. I don't need you. But the fact their powers...
Like Blackbeard, he seems so, in a weird way, sorry to interrupt, but he seems very benevolent, right? When it comes to, like, random pirates. Because he has a bunch of bozos living on his island. So it's like, hey, it's not exactly like a tight-knit crew like the Straw Hats. So I feel like even if Caribou's information is useless, I feel like Blackbeard would respect the grind, He'd be like, hey, like, you kind of suck, man, but you want to hop on my island? Like, it's no big deal. We have room.
100%, man. I'm really looking forward to that interaction, because that's one of, because Caribou mentioned after Wano, like, oh, someone would want to know about Pluton, and I still kind of think he may not have been referring to Blackbeard, because Blackbeard's never even mentioned the ancient weapons. Like, why would someone think, oh, Blackbeard would want to know this if Blackbeard's never even mentioned it, right? It's like you're just kind of assuming. So
imagine Caribou has like exclusive interviews about Blackbeard, like behind the scenes footage that we don't even have. Yeah. That's how much of a super fan he is.
I mean, I think that'd be crazy, especially if he, like, I don't know what he would know, but like, what if he knew something about his past, or like teacher from this group of people?
That'd be ridiculous.
Which
we'll learn everything from Caribou.
My next video is about why Blackbeard doesn't sleep, and I go heavy into how Blackbeard is from like the snow country, or like how Luffy said people from snowy countries don't sleep. And and I think it'd be really cool, like, because we already saw in Caribou's time skip thing that he was like, he's like Gabaru, or he looks like Gabaru, who's like some guy from, I forget what the island's called from that time skip, but like he was like a hero. So I think it'd be kind of crazy. Like, what if that Gabaru guy maybe was tied to Blackbeard's lineage? So there's like a big parallel going on. I don't know.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, same. But all right, let's go ahead and get into the actual awakening part of this, and let's start by talking about Blackbeard, because, like I said, his people tend to forget that his darkness fruit, which is like the most, in my opinion, the most Blackbeard-esque fruit there is. You know what I mean? Like evil darkness. Like he's a that just makes me think of like kind of underworld evil vibes, that sort of thing. He even had to like kill his crew member to freaking get that fruit, right? Which is like, that's evil in and of itself. It's I would even argue maybe it was like a test. You know what I mean? Like how the fruit has like a will of its own, at least for zone fruits. Like, what if that fruit was like, okay, I want to make sure, this guy is evil enough or whatever to handle my powers. And so for the awakening, I think when he awakens, because it seems like Logias tend to affect their environments permanently. Now, we haven't seen this confirmed, but Punk Hazard seems to be our best evidence of this from Kuzan and Akainu. And so if that, holds true for the darkness fruit, wouldn't he just turn an area into a black hole?
That sounds about right. Like either a black hole or like a solar eclipse where everything's just really dark,
Because he said, like, darkness is gravity and even light can't escape. And, like, that's how black holes basically work. They're just giant, spinning vacuums, like in terms of like how they suck things in, not a vacuum like how space is a vacuum, but you know what I mean. And also, I think it's important to mention that like black holes swirl, you know what I mean? They're giant swirls, and you look at devil fruits, and Blackbeard's like the devil fruit guy in the story. And I think that's kind of interesting that like that's sort of how they work. Like and also pulling in light, that's a good contrast to the sun god, with Luffy. So yeah, I think you're right that like it would make everything like really dark, and maybe that's part of his goal. Like what if he went to the sun? I know it sounds super crazy, but like, Moon Piece, we already had Enel go there. Like if he went to the sun and uses awakening on the sun, would it literally just, is there no more sun? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it just dark, period?
I guess so, yeah. And if it's permanent, then yeah, like I guess there would just be no sun anymore. And I know that sounds crazy at first, but it's like, we're getting, I don't want to call it galaxy peace, but like we have the planets, we have the ancient weapons all being named after the planets, we have Luffy the sun god. It's like, yeah, we need I feel like there could be something going on out there. And then Enel with Moon Piece, it's like, yeah, like if we go to the sun, or if we have an ability that affects the sun itself, I don't think it would be that outlandish given what we've seen thus far.
I totally agree. I mean, you also think about things like how at Eni's lobby there's daylight 24/7 for like no reason.
How the hell does that happen?
Exactly.
Does the moon just not show up?
Which is why we're going to talk about Kizaru after this. That's why he was next on my list. But like when you have somewhere that's daylight 24/7, there probably is going to be places or maybe a situation where it's dark 24/7 in the future. And I feel like Blackbeard, being at the forefront of that makes a lot of sense, especially if you take into account like the shadow idea, because like a lot of people have brought up the fact that Blackbeard wanted to get Moria on his crew or asked him to join, and so it's like, does he want to get shadow powers under his control somehow? There's also S-Gecko or S-Bat, which can stand in and maybe do the same thing with shadow powers. And the reason why that matters is like, well, if you take out the sun, then that limitation where like you die if you're in the sun without your shadow is like completely taken out of the equation. You know what I mean? Like you would never die if your shadow is taken. And I just wonder if this is all part of Blackbeard's plot, which I know you and I talked about on your video, but like, you know, if he turns everything dark, like also if it's all dark, wouldn't he have a massive advantage? Like would he like blend in with the whole environment? You know what I'm saying? Like if everything is pitch black where he's at, you know how he like put the tarp over Whitebeard and it was like, oh, what's he doing? He's basically doing that to the world, right?
Yeah, I like that.
So I don't know
one idea too, like what if you're succumbed to his darkness, like if you're in the dark, you lose all of your powers too. Like imagine he does this, like you said, to a little city, a country or whatever, like a Enies lobby. Like imagine he does that and all the Devil Fruit users have their powers drained and Blackbeard gets all of them. I think it could be a really busted awakening. That's
crazy. So like he awakens and it's like a giant black vortex where every Devil Fruit user loses their powers because oh dude, that's fire. Because
I thought that's so cool.
Part of my Void Century theory is that, you know, there was a flood at one point and that flood was probably primarily used to drown the Devil Fruit users and like get the fruits back. Like, okay, let's wipe the whole slate clean, right? That's why I think that may have happened, among other things. But now for Blackbeard to basically do the same thing, but in his own way with the Darkness Fruit and take everyone's powers away, so he's like, you know, way stronger. That, man, and then just the thematic layer of it where like if he makes everything dark, then Luffy has to bring the light back, you know, which he has done several times. Like you look at Skypiea with the Raigo, it was like all dark and then he, you know, defeated it and then the sun shines. Or at the end of Thriller Bark, how like they left the, you know, Florian Triangle right when he beat Moria. So it's like that would be like the scariest version of the darkness part, you know, that we've had so far. Like Luffy would really need to bring the sun to like, you know, everyone's nerfed essentially until he does. So I love that, man. That's fire.
Yeah, no, it's such a cool idea because I was playing around with it. I was like, man, how can you steal everyone's power? Because that's like a final villain trope, right? The final villain comes in and then everyone's affected. If Blackbeard awakens and like he uses it on the entire world, it's like, yo, like we're gonna be fighting a madman. Like the only guy in the world with any powers whatsoever. Like if he even takes away Luffy's sun god powers, like how would you fight this guy? You know?
And not that
it's we have perfect final villain.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. And tying back to that idea where like Whitebeard had like the tarp put over him, and that's how Blackbeard got his fruit. What if doing this not only takes everyone's fruits, like it you know stops them from using it, but what if Blackbeard is able to use the powers, right? Like I know like his weird body is what let him have multiple or whatever, but what if he can have like as many as he wants as long as he does it the darkness way? You know what I mean? Like as long as he's able to shroud the whole thing in darkness, then that to me would be like the craziest thing ever. I mean, that's sort of like a all for one type situation, you know, if you watch My Hero. So it's like,
oh yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I could see why some people might not like that very much, but I think that could really work, like, and make Blackbeard like unbelievably menacing at that point, which he already is, but man.
Yeah, no, I'm all for it. I'm all for Blackbeard becoming all for one. And, you know, if you wanted to nerf it a little bit, you could say that he could only do it, you know, while he's awakened or while he's in the dark. And that's totally fine, too. You know, like, I mean, at the end of the day, Blackbeard has to lose, right? Like, we're building up these villains, Blackbeard and Emu, and we're putting them on this pedestal. But at the same time, we have to beat them. That's all it is, so.
Exactly.
Luffy's always going to find a way over it.
Yeah, and Blackbeard might beat everyone else on his way, but eventually, you know, we will have to beat them. So.
Eventually, he has to get that L.
Yeah, for sure. All right, and so like I said, you know, tying to the Blackbeard Darkness one, I think another good one to talk about is Kizaru, because for one thing, you know, he may be doing it sometime this arc, because Akainu and Aokiji seem to have done it at Punk Hazard, and with Kizaru being the other, you know, OG admiral from the group that's still, you know, a part of the Marines, still in his original post as a regular admiral, I think it would make a lot of sense for him to awaken soon too, because that just kind of fills the trio out, right? Like all of them, they all should be able to. And so I think, you know, like we talked about Enies Lobby, that could be a good instance where maybe somebody in the past with his fruit awakened. But I also think there's a chance that we've already seen it because of the shadow clones or the light clones in this instance, you know what I mean? where he made all those different clones to fight Luffy. And so I'm curious what your thoughts are on that. Like, do you think that's awakening, or or is that just like an advanced technique, kind of like how Luffy had to use like gear 2, 3, and 4 before he could awaken? Like, is that like a stepping stone, or like what do you think's up with the clone thing?
Yeah, so personally, I don't think it's an awakening. It could be a prelude to one, but it does remind me of not a Logia, you keep in mind, but it reminds me of Dofi's string clones. Like, he kind of just creates them on the side. I feel like that's the same for Kizaru. And Blackbeard is so separate, in my opinion, from all of these other Logias, because it's just special, right? Even he says it's special. He takes double damage. He's a darkness man, but, never once have any characters hit Blackbeard, then he's like, oh, I'm intangible because I'm darkness. No.
True.
Blackbeard's a weird one. So that's why I have a very different opinion on what Blackbeard's awakening is compared to the rest. Because when it comes to Kizaru, Kuzan, and Akainu, I do agree that they affect their areas permanently. But the way I see their awakenings is kind of busted. Maybe it's not going to go this way because it would be too overpowered. But I see all of the other Logias as potentially being like a Zoan, where Kizaru will awaken and he becomes like the light god, or, the entity of light. And they affect their areas permanently. Kind of like a domain expansion from like JJK even. I say it's like a domain expansion plus a new form. And yes, while that is busted, we have to remember that Logia users were once the top dogs. Like, these were the guys to be scared of. It is the rarest Devil Fruit classification out there, next to mythical Zoans. And I feel like they do deserve that love. So yeah, Kizaru becoming like a light god, Kizaru making it like unlimited like sunshine. I feel like that's pretty plausible. And to be honest, like, that's the only way Kizaru can stand a chance against any of these monsters, and most of these Logia users too. Because like, all of the villains right now are demons, right? Yep. Luffy, the sun god, the Gorosei are actual demons out of hell. It's like, we need like some of these guys to have like busted powers and busted growth spurts.
Yeah, no,
so that's kind of where I'm at with these guys.
I love the domain expansion idea, where like I think that's part of why they turn the environment permanently. Like, it isn't just that like that's the ability, like that's cool, but that might not help you in combat all that much all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like you would need a buff from it, and that's where the domain expansion comes from. Like, if you're a light human and you're in an environment that's totally light, then you should be buffed, right? Like that, it's like a field spell. Yeah, it's like in Pokemon when you use Sunny Day and then use a fire attack, right? It's the exact same thing.
Nobody actually uses Sunny Day in Pokemon, though. It's so useless.
I know. Well, it used to be good back in the day. I know it had its time at some point in the in the competitive history. I'm a big fan of False Swipe Gaming. I don't know if you ever watched his channel. But
no.
He does like historical competitive Pokemon videos. I'm a huge fan, and yeah, so he's talked about that. And I may even be misremembering it because I am not a pro, but I know that was a part of some big movesets for some Pokemon. I'll put it that way.
Yeah, big moveset, Sunny Day.
Because he goes through every Pokemon's individual history, and I know in some gens, some Pokemon were like, oh, you need Sunny Day or this one's useless. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
damn, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but I love that connection with the Logia Awakenings, because devil fruits, like with zones, they were said to have a will of their own because, we don't know all the specifics, but probably because there's like a living thing tied to it, right? Like for a typical zone, like let's use Lucci for example, there's like the will of an actual leopard or whatever somewhere in there.
That looks like.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so, I think that Paramecias have something similar going on because they match their users so perfectly. Like, my favorite example is Law, because he was training to be a doctor as a young kid, and then he gets the Op fruit. It's like, come on. And then Kid, who obviously ties to Law very closely because the Big Mom fight and stuff. Kid was like an engineer as a kid. Like, he had like a wrench and was like building robots or whatever. And he got the magnet fruit. And he also uses punk attacks and Vega Punk, you know what I mean, build stuff. So like those connections are like really strong for me. And so then for Logias, we kind of have that same thing. We're like, all right, well, what's like the it factor here? Like, what's the living component to this? Like, what makes a Logia fruit even work? Like, how did you get like the will or the whatever you want to call it of like an element and be able to turn a person into it. Like that's so different than the other ones to me, because Paramecius, you could say, oh, that's like imagination, like, you know, like with Law, maybe someone in the past wanted to be an even better doctor and he like willed that fruit, you know, to exist or something. Like there's like a living component to that somewhere. But like, you know, with the Logias, how does that, you know, where does like the living part of light come from? Like how do you know what I mean? Like how do you make a living thing use a non-living thing's powers in that sense? And so that's why I like the domain expansion part, because it's almost like the element is becoming sentient to a degree. You know what I'm saying? That's like you said, like Kizaru might become like a light god type thing. Like he gets like a buff, maybe like a transformation, even all this stuff. Like he should just become light, period. Like he already is light, but like, you know, there should be, I don't know, like he's the true essence of light to some degree. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how, and I genuinely don't know how that would work, but the domain expansion element, man, that just makes so much sense.
Yeah, I like the domain expansion element because, you know, going back to Punk Hazard, where we assume Sakazuki and Kuzan both awakened there, like, it's not confirmed, but the land permanently changed, right?
Yep.
And if you look at Punk Hazard before and afterwards, there's, like, this crazy volcano that's just coming out of nowhere. It's like, wait, I don't think that volcano was always there.
I am not sure.
Yeah, so if there was, like, a domain expansion and Akainu just spawned that, like, that volcano in, that would make sense.
That would be all, like, because you think about it, like that's where like magma comes from. You know what I mean? Like it's like usually, you know, underground and has to spew up through a volcano or, you know, whatever, like some eruption type thing. And so that would be kind of crazy, because like, you know, if he very loosely speaking was like overtaken by the will of magma, or, you know, whatever, you know, however that works. It's like, yeah, like a volcano spawning would make a whole lot of sense, because magma likes volcanoes. You know what I mean? Like,
they're best friends.
Yeah, this reminds me of like I don't know if you watch SpongeBob, but like the Krakatoa thing from Squidward.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh yeah, love that. That's how I envision Akainu's awakening working, is Krakatoa.
Yeah, imagine he gets the head like that, like Jogo from JJK.
Yeah.
Like volcano head, Krakatoa.
Oh, that's definitely where Gege. That's where Gege got the idea for him from Squidward.
Krakatoa.
Yeah. That's so funny.
No, I'm looking at Punk Hazard right now though, and the images of Punk Hazard before Akainu and Kuzan's battle, it doesn't have any volcanoes. Maybe it's just a bad shot of the island, but it has no volcanoes. And then you go to after they fight, and there's 5 of them. You know, for one volcano, you could make an argument. You know, you could say, oh, it's dormant, right? It's hiding in the mountain. It's blending in. Sure. I will agree to that. But 5 volcanoes spawning on the island is pretty insane. There's no way. It's got to be a domain expansion, bro. It's got to be.
Oh, that's such a good connection, honestly. And I think another connection here that is maybe somewhat of like a maybe foreshadowing is, you know, one of Aokiji's, like, at least in my opinion, most iconic attacks was Ice Age, right? Where he turned like all the waves into ice. And so you think about Ice Age like in real life, like that's literally essentially like the whole planet froze for a certain period of time. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, you're talking about all these volcanoes, which makes a lot of sense. It's like Aokiji may have been talking about this for a long time, where like if he were able to awaken fully, it's like, you know, he's taken the planet back a few million years. You know what I'm saying? So, and Akainu would be even more than that, because, you know, at one point in time, the Earth was just a volcanic mess entirely. But yeah, no, that's great, dude. I never even thought about comparing the old and new Punk Hazard. And,
what if? Okay, so this is gonna sound so stupid. What if these awakenings also spur evolution? Like what if it shapes the people who live there too?
Oh, like it affects people? Is that?
Yeah. Like this is gonna sound so dumb, but like what about like the Yeti Cool Brothers, right? Because they were introduced on Punk Hazard, and they're like unclassified. They're just mysterious people.
And you know,
like, what if they're just regular guys, and then they later became the Yeti Cool Brothers because of Aokiji's awakening? I know that's like silly, but
well, I don't think it's silly, because taking that even a step further, what about the Lunarians? Because they're able to live in harsh environments and control fire. And so talking about like Akainu's awakening, what if like a past magma fruit user awakened somewhere, like where the Lunarians lived, and that's sort of how they got to this state, right? Like because like the controlling fire aspect is like maybe one thing on its own, but when you couple it with the they can live in harsh environments factor, and like they have like black wings, which is like an underworld feel to me, even though they're called Lunarians, which ties to the moon. You know, the everything about them physically to me screams like underground, you know, or like magma chamber, volcano type stuff. And so that, and I think that would make so much sense too, because like Akainu's fleet admiral now, Oda has said that Akainu could find the One Piece in a year if he wanted to and stuff like that. So it's like magma or like volcanic activity in general has been really emphasized on. And I really like the idea that like the Lunarians were maybe just lived in a place that was turned into magma by the awakening of that fruit. And also, where did King get freed from? Punk Hazard, which was turned into a fiery place, you know what I mean?
Oh, that's a good point. Oh, and then I forgot like one of the most prime examples too, not a Logia, but Long-Ring Longland with the really long-limbed animals, or the stretchy free animals. So, I guess there are instances where like devil fruits could affect just wildlife and people.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's a part of like my biggest theory, because I think that's Luffy's awakening, like the Gomu Gomu. Has been affecting that, and that's why they all said it's because they feel free, which is
that's very specific wording. Yeah,
like that's like, okay, that's a Luffy connection, you know, like no question.
just put on the whiteboard.
Yeah, and then even Afro Luffy had like the flaming skull tattoo, which looks like Gear 5th, but just, you know, in Jolly Roger form, kind of.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of connections there, which is why, like, you know, we don't have to get into this whole debate, but like we talked before the stream, how like obviously Luffy's fruit's his own. I have an agenda that still might be like the Paramecia Gomu Gomu, but honestly, there's a lot of like Logia-esque, you know, if this Long-Ring Longland, you know, thing is true and it ties to that fruit, that's sort of Logia-esque because it permanently affected an environment, right? So and this might be why Luffy's fruit is the god fruit, is it's like all of them, right? So that's kind of where I'm at with it, but
One thing I was kind of looking at too was, you know, just tying it back to Blackbeard for a second. I was trying to think if there's any places that are just eternally dark, and the first thing I thought of was Muggy Kingdom with Mihawk. But unfortunately though, to my despair, there was a shot of sunset, I believe, at Muggy Kingdom, so that kind of kills the theory. But I thought it would be pretty cool because Muggy Kingdom, like, iconically has that really swirly cliff. Kind of like something out of the Nightmare Before Christmas. So I was like, yo, like swirls, darkness, hey.
Yep.
Yeah, devil fruits. There could be something here, guys. I don't know.
Well, we did see somewhere that's permanently dark, although it's kind of cheating the system, and that's the Florian Triangle. So tying back to the Shadow stuff, now he wanted Moria, and maybe he's going to go get S-Bat or S-Gecko, whatever Moria Seraphim's called. Like the Florian Triangle is permanently dark, and just it ties to the Shadow stuff. Even like, you know, Ors was resurrected there, who was called like the demon and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I think that, and also like the Thriller Bark monster that we still don't know about, which personally, pretty much since Emu's reveal, I thought that was Emu. Like maybe that's Emu's, like how the Gorosei transformed into these zone forms. What if that was Emu in Emu's true form? Emu is probably coming after Luffy, like, all right, we're shrouded in the darkness. Nobody's gonna see me. I'm gonna come in and get rid of Nika right now. But he already left and was like in the sun and stuff, and like, you know, was escaping. So like Emu couldn't do it.
You know what my gas station theory on that is, though?
You said gas station theory?
Yeah, my gas station theory.
That's funny.
I'm just gonna throw this out. So, you know, what if instead of this being the Darkness Awakening, the Florian Triangle, what if that's Smoker's Awakening with smoke and fog?
Oh,
those giant pillars that we see with eyes, they're actually just giant cigars.
Oh my god.
Hey.
I like the first part. I'm definitely with the first, because I actually, in my list of Logia Awakenings here, that like the order I had like some notes for each one to make sure I talked about, and literally the Smoker's Smoke Fruit Awakening, I put no idea next to it.
Oh yeah, okay, don't worry, I'll fill that one in.
Yeah,
make it a Google Doc. I'll write in Florian Triangle Cigar Monster.
That's so funny, because like even like the eyes were red at the very top, so it's like that's like where it's lit. If that was like, and like even the smoke would then be going up where the fog is. Starlets. That's actually kind of funny.
That could be Starlet, just giant cigar monsters constantly producing this fog and mist.
I unironically kind of like that. I'm not gonna lie. At least the mist part, right? At least like the fog element of it, like the smoke screen, you could say, I suppose. I like that. I think another idea, and I can't remember who said this. Maybe it was Randy. I can't remember. But somebody said that, you know, maybe Smoker's awakening will be used in a way to let the Straw Hats escape somewhere. Because like it would be a smoke screen, a giant one, right? It would turn the entire island to that. So it's like then nobody could see and then people could escape. So I like that too, because I know Randy brought this up, where, you know, Smoker has, like, if you look back at his moment with Dragon in Logtown and then his moment with Dressrosa and Kuzan after Punk Hazard, Smoker has been on 2 of the 3 sides of these situations, right? Where like there's an attacker, someone who's getting attacked, and then a savior in those situations, right? Where Smoker was the attacker the first time attacking Luffy, but Dragon stopped him. And then in Punk Hazard, Smoker was the one being attacked by Doflamingo, but Kuzan saved him. So now we need to have the third one where Smoker is the one saving someone else, right? He has not been the savior yet. He's you know, been stopped and been saved, but has not actually saved. And so for him to come in and maybe do that with his awakening, maybe like an egghead or something to, like, you know, I don't know, help just give him some space to get out, you know, so they can't get shot or whatever. I think that actually would make a lot of sense. So I like that. So the idea that it's like a fog, you know, some obfuscation of, you know, sight. I like that.
I'm just trying to think now if Smoker's Devil Fruit would, like, go well with anybody else's Devil Fruit. Like, I guess maybe... No, not Mr. 3. I don't know. Smoker.
I mean, so this actually isn't on my list, but it probably should have, so we can just talk about it now. So, so Dragon, we don't know if what Dragon's fruit is for sure yet, but I feel like the betting favorite is the Wind fruit. You know, I feel like that's the most common take, is it's like the Wind Logia fruit. He was a part of the Marines, so a lot of the Marines get Logias, like the Admiral specifically. He's the same age as Akainu, and a lot of people think, and I agree with this, that there's some history there between the two. Like Akainu and Dragon maybe are like 2 sides of the same coin, where one's like absolute justice helping the Marines, and one's like absolute justice by taking down the government. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot
100%.
Yeah, like, and so go ahead.
Oh, I was about to say, oh no. I was about to say, you'd have to be reading the story with your eyes closed to not think that Dragon and Akainu have some history, you know? Funny enough, I'm like looking at pictures of Smoker and Akainu, like I have them both pulled up, and I think we talked about it before, but I do believe that after Akainu goes down, and if we need a new fleet admiral, I think it would be Smoker. Because Akainu has 1 cigar, and then Smoker has 2 cigars, so he's like the second coming, you know?
He's already surpassed him.
Yeah, he's already surpassed. And plus, when you think of Smoker, and even Dragon, like both of their Devil Fruits, you know, assuming Dragon has a Wind Logia, they're both really passive elements, I guess you could call them. Whereas Akainu's more like harsh. So I think Smoker would be a great fit for Fleet Admiral. And plus, you know, when we first met Smoker, he was touted as the White Hunter. And then now we have Sun God Nika, who's called the White Warrior. So I feel like it's like the perfect cat and mouse almost. It's a good setup.
That's fire. The White Hunter and the White Warrior. I have never even thought about that. That is super cool.
Yeah, I think they changed his nickname later on, but no. Epithet. Yeah, the White Hunter. Yeah, it's still there. It's there in Japanese and everything. They changed it to a White Chaser in the Viz.
White Chaser, yeah, it's still the same thing. Hunter, Chaser, you're doing the same thing. You know, you're pursuing a target. You know,
you're pursuing the white.
Yeah, yeah. The opposite of Zoro.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I still love that meme.
Oh,
the
same.
memes of One Piece are great. I live for the jokes, man.
Oh, same. That's what makes One Piece so great. Is like if you like the lore stuff and like the, you know, the deeper like big world building stuff, like there's tons of that. If you like the gags and like the funny little you know, inside jokes or behind the scenes jokes, like whatever you want to call them, there's tons of those. If you just like the emotional character progression stuff, you know, you got that too. Like That's why I tell people who are like that I want to get into One Piece, and they're like, "Oh, like I'm not into anime or whatever," and like I try not to push it too much. I try not to be that guy, but sometimes I'm like, "Well, I'm just telling you, like, there's probably something for you in here."
There's so many characters you have to like one of them.
Exactly. There's somebody, probably multiple characters that will appeal to you. It's not gonna be like your typical anime, even though there are obviously tropes and angles of it that are very similar to other anime, but like One Piece is One Piece for a reason. So so I love that. I love what you said, like how they're like Smoker and Dragon if Dragon has the win Logia, they're kind of like passive, because like Smoke is based, like Wind and Smoke are very close, where Smoke is just air with carcinogens burnt into it. You know what I mean?
You could get cancer from that, so I mean,
yeah.
But besides that, it's pretty normal.
And he has attacks like White Blow or whatever, which are like wind. It's like propulsion. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like like he's going fast, like he's blowing wind almost in a way. So I actually really like that connection between the two, and also with Akainu, who would be like the harsher version of that, because like you get smoke as a byproduct of like magma or fire burning things, you know what I'm saying? So like there's also that layer to it where like, I don't know, like once a volcano's done, there's still tons of smoke left. It's like maybe you could even look at it from that angle, like even when Akainu's done, the smoke will be remaining, sort of idea.
Damn, I like that symbolism.
Yeah, because I totally agree with you that Smoker makes sense for Fleet Admiral in the near term, and then Kobe would take over for him later down the line. Like I'm talking in like a future version of One Piece. Like it would probably be like 10 years in the future. Kobe is promoted, like because he's just too young and
like
stuff.
That might be like 30 years in the future, to be honest.
Yeah, double digit like years. We're talking decades.
Yeah, like the average age for Admiral is what, like 50 and 60.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so how old is so Smoker's 36, so he's not like at the Admiral level yet, but hey, he could be the youngest one. Kobe's still like I think 18 years old, so I mean, give Kobe like 3 decades, and I think he'll be there for sure.
Agreed. Yeah, and I feel like that's a pretty common take at this point, like that people think Smoker, because Kobe's just too young, man. Like it would.
Yeah, there's no way.
There's no way all these old heads are gonna listen to Kobe. You know what I'm saying? As like
I wouldn't respect. I'd probably rebel. If I was one of the Marines, I'd be like, okay, I'm listening to a little kid. Yeah, no way. No thanks. No thanks.
Yeah, like I love Kobe. He's great. If I was a Marine, that's what I'd be saying. Like, hey, like no offense, I just this. What about me?
Yeah,
I'm supposed to get promoted.
It's one thing if you work at like a retail shop and your manager's like younger than you are, like that's fine, right? Like it's just retail, who cares? But if we're talking about like the head of the Marine, like president of the United States or prime minister, it's like okay, now we have to draw the line. Now they're too young.
Yeah, like a military general. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
exactly. So 100%. And talking about admirals or marine characters, another awakening that I think we need to talk about is Greenbull.
Greenbull, yes,
because something that I think is interesting about his fruit is that plants have had a lot of importance in One Piece, right? We got devil fruits, we got the Adam tree, we got the Eve tree, we got the whale tree. We got the tree of knowledge, which these are all just trees, but still plants nonetheless. Even the fruits would be coming from trees.
Yeah, I got a little bit of a green thumb here.
Yeah, exactly. And also, so King is a Lunarian and was supposed to live on the Red Line, and his name is actually Arbor, which is I think like tree in some language. I forget exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But, and so like there's like definitive like botany importance in One Piece, you know what I'm saying? Like in Skypiea we had the sacred trees, that had like souls within them. We could like keep going down the list probably. And so when it comes to Greenbull, did somebody awaken his fruit in the past and maybe make one of these important trees, or or do something else? Because like I think the whale tree would be the number one example. Like he turned a whale to an actual tree at one point. Or the Adam tree.
I wasn't even thinking of that. I was more on like the normal routes of like Adam tree and Eve tree, but I do like the whale tree being Greenbull too, or like his devil fruit. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah,
that idea.
I think that was my first short ever, or my second short ever. I talked about that idea. Yeah, because
how to do? Like performative wise.
It did pretty well. So I've actually been releasing shorts a lot more recently. So if you're watching the VOD, go over to the main channel, check them out. But and that one, I used to do them like one every couple months when I had a random idea, but now I'm trying to do like 2 or 3 a week and just try to do like random theory ideas.
That's yourself thin, huh?
I know. Well, man, the shorts, if you can start nailing those, those help in the algorithm all sorts of ways. So I'm trying to figure that out. But it did do pretty well. It's definitely not my worst one. So, that's a positive thing. It might be my number 1 actually, or number 2.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Well, it was number 1 or number 2 before I started the new ones, because one of my new ones is my number 1 now. But either way, it did do pretty well. Because the thing with the whale tree is in Zou, both like Roger and Odin and Luffy and Momo like noticed how the whale was like looking at them, right? Like the voice of all things sort of like activated, like hey, that thing is like alive. Like I'm getting a weird feeling from that whale, and so I'm wondering because like plants are alive, and so if that whale was turned into a tree, is the whale still alive?
I would hate that, dude. Like I don't know about you, but like when I hear of like bumps in the night or like anything like that, I get like this weird shiver. I'm like, oh god, it's like a ghost.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, if I see that whale tree, I'd be like setting that on fire, man.
Oh, no.
I'd be scared out of my mind. I feel like an old grandma, like you go back to the country and then your grandma like tells you these superstitions. I'm like, yo, grandma, stop.
Yeah.
Like, that whale tree, no.
Yeah, I'm terrified. Yeah, and I think even
that's cool. That's a good idea.
And even maybe scarier, which like I don't think this is the case, but like the Adam tree. What if that literally was a guy named Adam?
No.
Yeah, and he just had like such strong hockey that's why the tree is like the hardest tree. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like the toughest tree in the world or whatever. It's like what if he was just a tough guy, and so it correlates to the tree quality. Like
ooh.
I don't.
And then how like they say that the Adam tree survived like what cannonballs.
Yeah.
Imagine it's just the one survivor of like a Buster Call situation. That's why he has that like whole like hardness to him.
That would actually be pretty cool. And I think an interesting connection here too, which this wouldn't be like a Logia specifically, but the like the poneglyphs are also like indestructible, right? Like they're noted to be a very hard substance, kind of like the Adam tree. It's just you have wood and stone here. And we know that someone who turns people to stone is Boa. And so and this is a theory that Randy and I cooked on Theory for Theory about a year ago. Actually, I met Randy Troy in real life over the weekend. I went to his house and had a stream in person.
Over this weekend?
Yeah, like just a couple days ago. On Friday, I went to his house. Shout out Randy Troy, by the way. Shout out Christy. They're awesome. Got to meet them. And so he invited me to his house. I had a stream in person. We were both sitting on the same couch in his house doing a stream, which was super cool. And I forget where we were. Why did I even bring that up? I can't remember why. Because Randy had a
Theory for Theory.
Oh, that's right. Because we had a Theory for Theory a year ago, so it was almost like on the 1-year anniversary. But the first one we talked about something called Reassemble Joy Boy, which is basically the idea that maybe Joy Boy was turned into stone, and those are the poneglyphs. Like they turned into stone, then Law or Buggy's Awakening was used to cut the stones apart because they're not actually cut. Like this, we know how like those powers work. You're not actually like hurt, and so maybe that's what the poneglyphs are, because maybe Joy Boy was like so strong that him being turned to stone creates like an indestructible stone type deal. And so something like that could tie in here to the Adam tree as well, because. So Randy did a whole video on this, but he talked about Osiris, which is, I think, an Egyptian myth about a guy who was basically cut up into pieces and, like, sent down the river and then, like, stuck inside a tree and then, like, became the tree or something to that effect. And so I don't know. I think somewhere along the line, somebody living was turned into a tree or a rock, and we're gonna find out about that. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. I mean, it would explain why Blackbeard would want the Mero Mero no Mi, right? Like, we still don't know why he wanted it. Like, did he want to eat it and become kawaii? I don't know, dude. Like, he has something plotting on the side, so maybe he does know about somebody who used to be alive but is now stone.
And he can turn him back. Like that's And yeah, like, and with Blackbeard in the Mero Mero, like, my first ever thought on that was, Blackbeard makes everybody attracted to him because he has darkness powers and he has, like, a vortex. Like, it's like a physical attraction. Like, would that work? Like, would that, would he be able, would that count in terms of the fruit? I don't know. But I think him, like, I think what's going to happen is he's going to get S Snake. And, he's never going to have the fruit, and he's going to make S Snake turn someone back, or maybe turn a whole bunch of people to stone. I don't really know exactly. Randy and my idea with Randy is basically, he's gonna get the poneglyphs together and turn that back into like a new Ors type of idea. Like, if that's actually Joy Boy, you reassemble them, they turn into a person, and he can control it. With like maybe. I think
the hardest part is just what Boa said about her devil fruit, where she said that only she can be, or she's the only one that can undo the petrification. Yeah. We don't know if she was lying when she said that, but I don't think she was.
I think she might just not know how her awakening works.
That could be that too. Yeah. She's not awakened from what we know. So yeah.
That's my guess. Because I agree that like, her just straight up lying would be borderline anticlimactic a little bit.
Yeah. I was lying the entire time. Like, oh, okay, cool. Whatever.
Yeah. Like there's like there has to be a way for, I think there has to be a way to turn people back from stone from the past, but at the same time, I don't think Boa's just lying. It's that simple. I'm sure there's got to be something else to it. So I don't know. That's something I'm excited to find out, because
and plus, how would she know? It's not like she knows the previous user of the Mero Mero no Mi.
Has she gone to statues from the past and tried?
Yeah, like how does she have this info? Like, maybe they tested it out in Marie Joie. They're like, hey, Boa, we have this statue over here. You want to try to undo that? I don't know.
That's my guess, because like we did see a bunch of statues like in the Reverie that were like aligning like this walkway up.
For the stairways. Yeah,
exactly. And so like, are those all like past Gods Knights? Like I think it would be kind of cool if like maybe the Gods Knights, like maybe in the past, like once they reached a certain age, if they already had kids and like a successor. What if they were turned to stone and it's like, okay, like we're going to preserve you now because we want to use you later for like the big war, instead of you like just dying, you know what I mean? Because then you're useless. Like, what if the government turned him to stone? Like, hey, we want this army later. We're just going to stock it up and just save them.
That would be a dream come true. Like, the more villains we have, the happier I get.
Same.
I'm a villain guy.
I want it to feel like we have a 0% chance to win when we get to the final war. I want it. I want to sit in that dread for like a long time. Like, I want us to be just like, we're cooked. Like we have.
Hit us with like Berserk up, like, Eclipse vibes, right? Just cover up the sun. Bring out the demons. Like, I want that to be the final war. Like, I think a lot of people like, they see Luffy winning here on Egghead Island and how he's stomping. They're like, yo, like, this is great. This is what I want. It's like, no, you don't want this. I'm gonna tell you what you want. You want Luffy to not be able to win. Because it feels even better when he does win,
Yep.
Like, I don't know. You don't want to spend money, go to a UFC or boxing match, and then it's a one-hit KO. Like, it's cool, but is that really what you want? Like, do you really want every fight to be easy? I don't know.
That part of the reason why Gear 5th was so good is because Luffy died first. You know what I mean? Like somebody interrupted his battle against Kaido, which is already like unbelievably tough to begin with. Like, good luck beating him to start with. And then somebody interrupts that battle and you get clocked and we see the heartbeat flatline. Like that, I want that over and over in the final war. Like, not like Luffy doesn't. Yeah, like Luffy doesn't actually have to keep dying, but just that type of level of like defeat. It's like, damn, wow, we're cooked.
All the Straw has to go through that again. Just like Saboti again, just lose.
Yes.
Overwhelmingly lose, and then get back up and fight. Like, everybody loves a good comeback story.
Agreed. And I love that you said that, because, like, with Gear 5th, I feel like Luffy sometimes feels a little, like, invincible. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like he's so strong, because, like, people talk about, like, Gear 5th doesn't ruin the tension type thing with him always laughing, and I'm kind of like, not really, but what does ruin the tension is when he doesn't face any threats. Like, he's so strong that he can beat everyone. That ruins the tension for me more than anything. Like,
when he takes damage and nothing sticks, right?
Yes, that to me, that does way more for the tension than anything. Because I'm like, well, I don't care what attack this guy does, Luffy's not going to get hurt by it. You know, like that.
Yeah.
That affects the tension way more for me. So I want, like we keep saying, I want big threats where even in Gear 5th, Luffy's like, oh shit. Like, I don't know how I'm going to beat this, you know?
Yeah, and it's not because I want Luffy to lose. It's because I want Luffy to have a really good W. Yes. You know, like, the reason why we love the Kaido fight, and the reason people look back at it with fond memories, is because Luffy went down. Doflamingo, Luffy went down. Like, there's something about Luffy falling down and getting back up that makes it so rewarding in the end. Yes. So that's why, like, right now with the Gorosei fights, like, it's cool because, you know, Luffy's clowning on them, but at the same time, it's like, okay, are these really the final villains, you know? Are these guys really going to be the ones who push Luffy to that limit? I don't... It doesn't seem like it right now, and that's kind of unfortunate for me, at least.
And no, I completely agree. Like, now it's kind of weird because Oda's built this sort of I don't even know what you want to call it, but this paradigm here, I guess, where like the Gorosei almost just don't care about taking damage because they know they can just regenerate, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, okay, is Luffy actually this strong, or is it just that the Gorosei are just tanking it because they literally don't care? You know what I'm saying? Like could they dodge and do a lot more if they like felt like it? Like probably, but the way the fight goes, it's kind of like, damn, Luffy's already able to you know, survive fighting the Gorosei. Like this is, you know,
3 of them.
Yeah, like you know, and I don't know. I'm excited to see where the rest of that goes, but it's kind of like next time we see Luffy fight the Gorosei, it's going to be like, okay, well, just bring out Emu. Like I don't want to see this again. Same. You know,
it's like a mixed bag. Like I love that Luffy's dominating, but at the same time, it's like, okay, like if I had to weigh it, right? Like if I had to weigh between Luffy winning absurdly, you know, or Luffy struggling, I do prefer the struggle. I do prefer the struggle.
And I want a lot more of it. Like you said, like a Sabo Odi moment. I think we really need one of those for sure. But all right, I want to get into the next Logia Awakening here, which this one is actually one of my favorites by far. It's Crocodile.
Okay.
Because
the Sandman,
yes, because I mean he's really the first Logia that we, you know, were like afraid of, you know, where we had to find a way to get around it. Like Luffy beat him without Haki. There's all sorts of things. He wanted Pluton. He was in Alabasta, which we know, you know, the Nefertari left Marijois and stayed in Alabasta. There's like a lot of important things. But my real agenda with this one is that I think a past Sandfruit user turned Alabasta into the desert that it is today.
Same. No, yeah,
that's awesome.
We're on the same boat.
That's
on
amazing.
The same boat.
Because that's what Crocodile was doing. He was drying it out. He just didn't have awakening to do it. He was using dance powder. Like when we first got there, we went to, I think it was like Aramalu first was like the name, I think.
Yeah.
And Vivi's like, the Sandora River's drying up and there's like no plants now. They're like, yeah, we've always been a desert, but we had some plants and now there's none type thing. And so I'm like, okay, so that just imagine that happening on a grander scale in the past, right? Where this kind of leads me is like, what if Alabasta used to be the Emerald City, and it was called the Emerald City because it had so many plants? It was like a rainforest type thing, right? It probably had so many, such lush foliage that's why it was called the Emerald City. Kind of like a naming misdirection, right? Because it was just so green and bright and all that sort of stuff. And then maybe it was turned to a desert, so it looks like it is today. And that's why nobody has seen the Emerald City and why it's like a myth. Because people have visited there and live there. They just don't know it's like sort of lost to history. It's like that island was erased in a different way than maybe God Valley or Lelucia, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I believe the Emerald City is in Alabasta. It's just buried. It kind of reminds me of the ancient library from like Avatar, even The Last Airbender.
Oh, and great connection.
Yeah, and then even just going back to Alabasta, it's filler, but we did see a poneglyph that's like hidden underneath the sand.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if you remember that, but it's such a weird filler to throw in. It's like Zoro and Luffy and I think it was Usopp. They just find like this poneglyph out of nowhere.
Yeah, and I think that was anime only, I think, right?
Yeah, but that's a crazy anime only scene.
But even in the manga, there's confirmed ruins that are like buried by the sand, right? There's like another city or civilization or whatever that did, that was like laid to waste by the desert aspect of it at some point. And now,
and the thing is, Crocodile isn't even awakened, but he's already, like you said, he's already been like draining the life out of plants in Alabasta. And even that one guy who's like, I think his name's Toto, he's just digging that hole, you know, trying to find some spring water. But every time he does it, every day on the clock, Crocodile just sends a sand tornado his way.
Oh,
so it's crazy.
So savage, like such a
That's
dick move, but
hilarious.
so savage at the same time, you know.
It was so sad, but I remember like as a kid, I was laughing so hard at that. I was like, "Yo, Toto's getting messed up by Crocodile."
Oh my god, yeah. Which that scene I still remember hit me really hard because it was like an emotional thing for Luffy, like, damn, these people are really suffering type thing, you know. And then I think the guy gave Luffy his only water, right? And like he had that little thing. So like that hit really hard. And so, you know, for that to matter on a bigger scale, like going back to the past, I think that would make a lot of sense, especially considering the reason Crocodile was doing it. Because he was trying to create instability in Alabasta so that he could essentially take over, right? Like he's kind of like, all right, if I do this, you know, people are going to be a little uneasy about the situation. There might be like some resurgence, like a civil war type deal, you know, like there's like a clash to try to figure things out. And that's exactly what happened. And he even had like Mr. 2 exacerbate the issue by like being by being Cobra and pretending, you know, like starting battles in different cities and whatever. So I'm wondering if maybe the reason this happened in the past was a very similar thing. Like they wanted to take over Alabasta, or maybe get the Nefertari out of control because they knew that they were, you know, one of the original 20 or whatever. And, you know, and that leads to the situation today where Brook even said, like, I've never heard anyone speak poorly of the leaders of Alabasta. Like, they're always held in such high regard. And so this might speak to the scale of which, you know, other people are going to get the Nefertari out of control of Alabasta. Because, like, in Sorbet, like we saw with Bikori kept coming back and trying to take over, right? Like the government likes controlling these important islands if they can. And so I'm wondering if, like, you know, the government's had a lot of Logias. Did they task somebody with doing this? Like, did the government give the sand fruit to somebody and be like, hey, get the Nefertari out of there, you know, like go ruin that place, like go like, eliminate the Emerald City, you know?
I like that mindset a lot. And it just kind of makes me wonder, like, how does the government keep on getting their hands on these crazy devil fruits? Like sand, lava, potentially wind, light, ice. It's like, damn, dude, these guys are stacked, man. Forest, gravity.
Dude,
they're camping some trees, man. Like, they're over here they're like planting it up. I like to imagine when we see like the backside of Marie Joie or like a Marine HQ, there's just a giant garden.
Yeah,
or like farmers like out the wazoo.
Or the Sunlight Tree Eve, right? What if that's
a tree?
Because you know, I think at the beginning of this I mentioned how, you know, if the government did try to make the world flood, I think the reason would be to get all the devil fruit users out of there and to kind of do a reset. And what if, like, so we've never seen a devil fruit user drown, but what if when one does, the fruit goes back to the tree instead of just the nearest fruit? Because, like, you know, like the ocean obviously like suppresses your abilities and like you get weaker and all that stuff. So I could definitely see a world where, like, if you die in the water, then the fruit doesn't like have the power or the will or whatever to go back to the nearest fruit, and instead it has to like revert back to the original spot. And so maybe that's how they have all these Logias, is they just, you know, filled the tree back up 800 years ago, got all the fruits back in their possession, and over time maybe they've leaked out into the world, but they've like taken more care of the Logias because they're the strongest. And I don't know, maybe that's how we're here. Maybe that's how they have all of them.
I'm kind of just thinking of are you a big like Junji Ito horror manga fan?
I am not. I don't watch. Not that I dislike them, but I don't read them.
There is one Junji Ito little short story where it's about these guys where when they die, they turn into these trees and they have like, they produce this blood fruit. So that's kind of like the vibe it's giving me. Like maybe when you die, you become the tree. Maybe it's like the Adam tree or Eve tree. I don't know. Yeah,
well, going back to the trees in Skypiea that had like the souls of their ancestors. And even more directly, they said the bell guides the souls back here after they die. Like there had to be like, even Brook didn't know where his body was automatically, right? We have like some some loose evidence that when you die, like your will or soul or whatever is lost, sort of. Like it needs direction.
Flying around.
Like, you know, it needs guidance. And so so going back to Sunlight Tree Eve, by being the Sunlight Tree, by having like producing sunlight, that might just, and also, wait, hold on. Crazy thought. The sunlight even goes into the ocean, right? The Fishman Island. So like I said, where if they drown, the fruits might go back to the Sunlight Tree Eve or wherever the original tree is. Well, that might be it. Like if you die in the water, the soul might be like, all right, let me find like the nearest source of light or whatever, and that's just the Sunlight Tree, and so then it just gets pulled right back up, and that's how it resets, because like the tree literally dips into the water. I like that. I like that a lot too. I never even thought about that. So,
but now I'm just thinking of the world government drowning people.
Which well, with the Mother Flame, the water level increased, right?
Yeah.
Places are like submerged, so it's already coming. I think that plot line's well underway. And also tying it back just one more time to Alabasta. Alubarna is like elevated, like really high off the rest of the, you know, like Alabasta.
Oh, you're right.
Island.
It is. Yeah, it has like that crazy stairway that took, I think, an entire episode to get over.
Yep, pretty much. It's
I remember that.
It's incredibly tall, and it makes me think, like, was there water here? You know, like, was this because the water level increased at some point, and they didn't want the capital to get submerged? You know, like I almost wonder if all of Alabasta is, well, not maybe all of it, but a lot of it's like a dried lake bed type deal. You know what I mean? Or like, it's like that used to be ocean covering it, but then the water level went down instead. And so it was like a reverse. I don't know.
Another way to look at it too. So a lot of islands in One Piece have this weird elevation thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there's Long Ring, Long Land, and that's the one people like most notably go to. There's that. Yep. There's Water 7. But for me, what sticks out the most is probably Dressrosa. So Dressrosa has that weird like flowers, like I think it's called like the Sunflower Hill.
Yep.
It's really strange because if you look at it, like the way the rock is formed, it's the same way a rock would form if waves crash over it over hundreds of years. So I think the entire world of One Piece, like you said, went through a great flood. And I think Dressrosa is a primo example of that.
That's such a good point, man. I never even thought about that. I'm looking at it now. Yeah, like the structure of it is so like awkward, kind of. But I see what you mean.
Yeah,
like
it's reminiscent of the little island that Sanji and Zeph were on.
Yes, exactly. Which that was like my favorite episode in the live action, by the way. But yes,
me too. Yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, So like Dressrosa itself is shaped in a way that I could see it, you know, like water levels changing. But even the Flower Hill, like you're talking about specifically, that also is the same way. It reminds me of Alubarna, the way, you know. Yeah. That's interesting, man. And you think about the government being all the way up on top of the red line, which that's another like, okay, your elevation type thing. You think about Zoe being that high up, right? Another elevation thing. Even Wano with the walls that they put up, like another elevation thing. Even at the cost of like submerging their old city. There's like like the elevation part is really important. So I am like, I even see
maybe even we could tie this to the tree on Elbaf. Maybe just like the story of Jack and the Beanstalk, the giants just climb the tree and live up there.
I love that because we already had Giant Jack and Skypiea, right? We already know that Oda's thinking about that, so
we can have the silliest references in here.
Yeah, I really hope Oda leans into the Jack and Giant Beanstalk thing. Like Giant Jack, we never saw like the base of Giant Jack. You know, like we just saw it get broken.
We never did, huh? It just comes from a cloud. Like what the hell was that?
Because we know that plants can't grow just out of clouds. Like you need Verth. That's why Verth was so important. Is like
yeah.
I think they're able to grow some things on clouds, but like the Verth was like that's just why Verth was important, right? And so, you know, it would kind of make sense that Giant Jack would have to have a base in Verth somewhere, and it definitely wasn't Upper Yard. So I wonder, like, I think I've seen a theory on this, but I wonder if Giant Jack really does come from the Atom Tree and just, like, connect all the sky clouds. You know, like, it's just so long. And what if that's actually how the clouds are floating? You know what I mean? Or some of them, at least. Because, like, it says it's pyrobloin, but, like, maybe there's some that don't have that. because like they weren't near a volcano, but like the giant jack just holds them up anyway, or whatever.
The theory crafting's going crazy. I like it though. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite. Because like that's something that would be revealed in Elbaf, so like I'm really excited for something like that.
It's coming up, dude. I feel it. This year, I feel Elbaf. It's gonna happen.
Same. Unless Oda keeps taking breaks. I think 11-16 we're gonna be leaving.
11-16 we're leaving. Okay. Yeah. No. Same. I'm on the same boat. I think we're leaving sooner than most people expect.
Same. 116 we first heard of Elbaf. It would just make so much sense to head to Elbaf 1,000 chapters later. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and he did that play with the Giants too, right? Because I think chapter like 1,000 or 100 or whatever chapter the Giants showed up in, if you put the titles together, it says Giants by your side.
Wait, say what?
Wait, okay, now I'm gonna seem like a lunatic. Let me look it up.
I'm about to look it up.
One Piece, Dory, and Brogy.
Oh, I see. 116 is Giants, 1106. Like you just put the 0 on your side, and because it says Giants. Yeah. So chapter 116 is called Giants. Chapter 1106 is on your side. So together, it's Giants on your side. Okay.
Yeah, and we met. Yeah, and that's their introduction chapter. And then the other one is the introduction chapter when they show up here on Egghead.
Love that.
So it perfectly lines up.
Yeah, that's actually fire.
Oda's a really slimy guy when it comes to those numbers, man.
He loves the math piece.
Yeah, I like to imagine he probably has like a calendar in his room or something, man. He seems like one of those guys, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Probably has a mean calendar.
And to continue the Elbaf discussions, I think another good Logia fruit to dive into is Enel's lightning fruit. Because he I think he is absolutely returning in Elbaf, like 100%. And his lightning fruit I think is extremely important to the grander scheme of things for a few reasons. First off, he went to the moon and powered the moon with his lightning fruit, right? That was like the power source, quote unquote.
All canon.
Yep. Yeah, which is so crazy, right? And Vegapunk, who is high tech and has a tall head, which the space pirates on the moon had a tall head. Jolly Roger, very reminiscent of Vegapunk. Vegapunk's trying to figure out the power source of the robot. And so we just, kind of tie all these things together. It's like, I'm not saying Enel is the power source, but the lightning fruit might be like a good replica of the power source, right? Or maybe the people on the moon use the lightning fruit as their power source because it was like more mobile, right? Like I almost wonder if the lightning fruit was like the ancient kingdom turning like a fusion reactor or whatever Vegapunk's using into a devil fruit sort of thing. Like that's like their idea. Like, all right, we're tired of using this giant dangerous machine to get energy. Let's just make a devil fruit so a person can do it for us type deal.
Yeah.
And so that ties to the moon where like, Enel went up there, powered it up. Like that was his whole goal, was to go back to Verth. And so that's
even how he powered up his spaceship too, right? The Arc Maxim.
Yep. That's how he traveled in space.
So yeah, lightning's crazy, man. It's such a good devil fruit. Like I feel like out of all the Logias, I do feel like Enel's is not the best, but it's the one I'd probably want.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so useful, man.
The only
no more OG&E bills.
Oh, say what?
I said no more OG&E bills, no more electric bills.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was about to say. I was like, I didn't know what the acronym was, but context, I was like, it's probably electric.
Yeah. No more bills, man.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think, because like lightning, that's dangerous in its own way, just combative-wise, but like the utility of it is insane. And so my thought is that I bet you what made the sky people move from the moon is that the lightning fruit user died, right? Like that's the reason why they like were out of resources. They were probably like, well, like without power we can't do anything. We can't space travel, we can't run our automata army, we can't do X, Y, or Z. So that's why they probably sent some of the sky races down to the Earth, because it's like, well, like that's your only chance, really. Like you can't stay up here because you'll die, basically. But the automata are robots, so they probably just stayed up there.
Yeah, I like that.
And it would make sense because Enel is from Burka, which was a sky island, but it got destroyed by Enel. And
good old Enel.
Yep. And the Moon City is also called Burka. It has the same exact name. so I don't know. It's like he has like the will of his ancestor, maybe like his ancestor / the past user of the fruit powered the moon, and that's why his will was perfect for it. Like, I'm trying to get back to the moon too. I'll fix everything, you know.
Yeah, I like how his whole story is going up to the moon, which is the exact opposite of his ancestors.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that's the thing. And that's the thing is that his ancestors, they may have only come down because they lost the fruit, right? And so then once he gets it, it's like, I'm making up for it, or, you know, like I'm finishing the job, I guess, is the idea.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it, because Enel just wanted to find endless Verth, which is just, you know, greenery. And then he goes to the moon to find endless Verth. So it makes me wonder if not only about like the moon and how it once had electricity, but what if the moon used to have a lot of plants as well? Like, you know, Greenbull went crazy on the moon and then eventually just all dried up.
Yeah, I like that. You know, we talked earlier about like, you know, Greenbull's awakening or Crocodile's awakening, kind of like making plants or taking them away. It's like, could be the same thing. Like, what if the moon was the Emerald City? You know, because
that'd be kind of crazy.
When Bellamy first mentioned it, it was in context of the City of Gold, which was in the sky, and then the One Piece, which, you know, we know exists, but we don't know exactly where it is other than on Laugh Tale. And so for that to like be taken to another level where it's like, you know, like Sky Island is one level of elevation, but what if the Emerald City is like all the way up on the moon, like even further than, you know, the City of Gold? Like, I think that would actually make a lot of sense, specifically because Bellamy said it. But I think another. Oh, go ahead.
I think Bellamy and his crew, maybe not just Bellamy and his crew, but like a Doflamingo, like he surely knows a lot too, right?
Yep. 100%.
Like, I feel like maybe like we could make the headcanon and say that Doflamingo kind of insinuated some lore like that. Doflamingo is such an interesting character too. Like, I feel like he knows so much more than he's letting on, which I guess has already been shown with the whole like treasure Marie Joie.
Exactly.
So yeah.
So and
those celestial dragons, man.
Yeah, I know. I can't wait till we find out why they're called celestial dragons. Like, I think that's going to be a literal thing eventually.
Me too. Me too.
Like, I don't know if they're all going to have celestial dragon powers, but maybe they're used to like power a celestial dragon, like their sacrifice. Like, there's a lot of different ways that could go. But, you know, that also ties to space and back to Enel and his fruit and all that. So, like, I don't know, man. I can't wait until we figure out the space piece. You know?
I think it's going to be absolutely insane. I know people, you know, Break Week is getting hard. So if you go online, people are comparing like One Piece Kaguya to One Piece, or Naruto's Kaguya to like One Piece's Emu. And I do feel like by the time we get the Void Century and learn everything about the world, it is going to feel very Kaguya-esque, where it's like, dude, like there's so much is happening at once, you know? Like, the story's going to be flipped upside down. And not in a bad way. I know people look at Kaguya in a bad light, but I'm talking about it in a good manner. We're just going to get everything just turned around, topsy-turvy.
I agree. I mean, Roger said that, like, whenever he talked about the One Piece, right? Like, whoever finds it will turn the world upside down. It's going to be the same thing when we find out about all this stuff. And, you know, that's part of why I really hope that they animate the NL cover story at some point, which I know we're like, you know, decades or like a decade past the release of that now. But it's like, that was never animated. And there's probably a lot of people who never even heard about it. And the people who did probably forgot, or, you know, only loosely understood what was going on there. And now that we met Vegapunk, and, you know, like I said, Space Pirates have a logo that looks like his head. He's looking for an energy source, all that kind of stuff. It would make sense to kind of show it after this arc, I would argue, especially if Enel's going to show up in Elbaf.
I think they will. One Piece has gotten a lot better about giving us information like that, like in the form of like the episodes now end off with a little snippet of an explanation. I think when Rob Lucci showed up, they showed us a little CP9, you know, flashback to Rob Lucci.
Yep.
There was one episode where we learned about Ohara.
Yep.
And then, you know, we go back, we have a little Robin and Chopper segment where they're like, hey, by the way, this place got blown up. They're all dead. It's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, the chibi versions.
Good. Yeah, they're doing good at giving us information again.
Yeah, they are.
Which, not like, you know, some people don't need it, but, you know, it's nice that we have it.
I like the way they're doing it, where they, at least what I've seen, is they kind of like tuck it into the end of it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's so much better, because it's like, all right, I can just shut it off and stop. You know, I know this.
Exactly. I can walk away now. You know, like I don't watch them. Yeah,
but I'm sure, you know, kids and, you know, casuals and stuff definitely, need some of that for sure. So
Yeah.
Not everyone's as deep into it as we are,
Yeah, we're over here talking about like, Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah.
We're talking about people turning into trees.
Black hole planets.
Black holes, yeah. Cigarette, scaling.
Oh yeah. The cigar scaling, man. That's so funny. I think I saw.
Doing this.
I can't remember what creator it was, but I think I saw someone run a poll on like who's the best smoker, because it's like you got Smoker, you got Akainu, Crocodile, and Sanji. Like all of them just smoke all the time. But
and Aramaki too. Aramaki smokes a little cigar.
Oh yeah, and that's kind of. I mean, does he like roll his own stuff? You know what I'm saying? Like, does he just produce the plants that he's burning?
Yeah, yeah. It's the perfect devil fruit for him. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna do some sativa today. I want some high.
I want
percent.
a special strand.
Yeah, got my own strain.
Dang, that'd be a cool fruit.
But something else about Enel's lightning fruit that I did want to mention, just tying it back to like awakening specifically, is I think we've already seen his awakening, and that's on Raijin Island, because you know how like this lightning strikes.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yep.
Raijin Island.
And I really hope that a lot of awakenings, or like a lot of the weird islands, end up being tied to that, because we know that like weather is weird on the Grand Line, and like each island has their own weather and all that stuff. But I hope it's not random stuff, but rather like different Logias awakened at some point and affected that island, and that's why we feel that way, right? That's why it feels random, is that well, it's not as nothing. It's like not climate, like you're taking climate out of it, and like just like the weather or conditions in that environment are just permanently changed. Because like, I mean, lightning strikes everywhere. Like how does that even happen? You know what I mean? Like that's like a whole island of them. And for Yarouge to find that island, that it, come on, like that's too perfect, I think.
Yeah, Arouge, the only other Birkin that's alive right now. Yeah, come on.
Yeah,
he's the one who went to Raijin Island. All right, cool. Thank you, Oda. Thanks for confirming this theory.
Exactly. It's like, well, and he also frowned there. One of the 2 times he's ever frowned. It's like, well, he obviously doesn't like the lightning very much, and I'm gonna guess that's because of Enel. Like probably. Yeah.
I think one cool thing about Raijin Island, if I recall correctly, I think the lightning is purple, right?
It looks purple in the anime, yeah. It's like whitish purple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, I agreed. And also, there's like this lady who pulls up on a little ship, and she's like, "Can I sell you an umbrella?" And it's like and it's so funny because on an island like that, you wouldn't need an umbrella. Like you'd need something else. Like an umbrella is for rain, not the lightning, but it's raining lightning, which is different. And so I think she's selling rubber umbrellas. So they do.
Oh, okay.
And I bet that Yarouge, just like all other Skypians, have not heard of rubber before. So he was probably pulled up and was like, "Wait, this stops lightning? Like what is this substance? Like I've never heard of this." And then I wonder if that was like the start of him thinking of Luffy differently, because I don't know if he knows that Enel lost. Because like news doesn't get shared around like that from the White Sea. So I wonder if...
Yeah, I mean, there's no Marines up there or anything. Like, Big News Morgans doesn't even go up there.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they have the white berets, like my guy McKinley. But yeah, so I really want that to... I want the Raijin Island thing to definitely be his awakening. I think that would hit really hard as like a... Just like... Especially going back to Elbaf, if Yarouge and Enel come to Elbaf, like for them to talk about this Raijin Island thing and just like how rubber cancels it, and maybe how like, oh, like Enel, you thought you were a god, but the sun god with his rubber powers was like the counter, like that's the real god type. Like there's so much that could, be dove into there with those two. So that's something I'm really looking forward to.
It kind of reminds me of when like a caveman discovers fire.
Yes.
It's the same thing for the Birkins with rubber. They're just going crazy. Like, yo, check this out. We can finally live.
Which
we don't have to die, guys.
Isn't that basically what happened at the end of Skypiea? Didn't like Usopp trade rubber for dials? Like,
yeah, he traded rubber bands. Though I think Usopp kind of scammed him.
Yeah, which the toad oil salesman. I
feel bad for all the Usopp victims. I know it's like a gag, but it's such a sad one. But like for Skypiea, it's fine because it's rubber bands. They're getting something out of it.
Mm-hmm.
But on Wano, I remember, I think it was Tama. Her dad was dying.
Otoko.
And then, yeah, or Otoko, yeah, Otoko.
Yeah.
And then she was like, Usopp, here, give me some snake oil. You said this can cure any wound, right? I was like, okay, oh god,
Yeah,
Usopp, what did you do?
I've never hated Usopp as much as that moment, you know?
I was so upset. I was like, Usopp, you lied
Yeah.
to this little girl, and she thinks you can cure her dying dad. Yeah, good one.
Like Usopp, like all your cowardice and you know, all the lies and everything, I can forgive that. I know you're struggling and like, you know, you're in a world of monsters and you're a normal person. I get it. But this, like that, no more.
Bit too far.
No more of that. Like, and it's also funny that like Oda knew what he was doing with that too. He's like, oh, everyone's gonna hate Usopp after this.
Yeah, I mean, Usopp felt bad about it. Like I think he apologized and cried a little bit.
Yeah, he did.
Oh yeah, I mean, he was remorseful that he made that lie. I'm like, yeah, that's probably one of the worst ones he's done thus far.
By far.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so the next awakening that I want to talk about is Sabo's, because this one I think is going to be like insanely important given obviously the connections to Ace and Luffy and everything. And something I've always thought was ironic is that you know, Luffy has sun god powers, but has no sun powers, if that makes sense, right? He's just rubber,
Yeah.
He frees people. But his brothers, they had sun-esque powers with the flame fruit. Even when you saw Ace versus Blackbeard, Ace had basically like a giant fireball that looked like a sun that he used in that attack. I think it was Entei, like Flame Emperor. Yep. And that is Sabo's epithet now, the Flame Emperor, Entei, right? And so, you know, what I'm getting at is I wonder if Sabo's awakening will give us like a second sun. Like, what if Blackbeard removes the current sun with his awakening, and then Sabo creates another one with his? Like, all right, let me go turn this whole planet to burning, and boom, we have another sun again.
Yeah, imagine he turns the moon into a sun. He just goes over there and activates his domain expansion. That'd be cool.
Cause, I mean, if Blackbeard gets rid of one, or you know, I don't know, Emu or somebody, I don't know, somebody does it. You know, it would make sense that we need another one, and you know, and this isn't like something that I think we'll get out of Logia Awakenings, but yeah, maybe in this case, what if this like he like sacrifices himself to do this? Like, what if that's like how his story ends? Is like, you know, it's like, well, the whole world's gonna die if I don't like how Ace tried to stop Blackbeard, you know, like right at the start of Blackbeard's tyranny, I guess you could say, like right after he killed Thatch, he's like, I'm gonna go after him and get revenge. Maybe Sabo's like the bookend to that, where he's at the very end, where like, all right, well, for someone to beat him, I'm gonna have to, you know, do this final act and like, you know, bring the sun back so somebody has a chance type deal.
I would like that. I mean, it would be like the flames of liberation, and they could just like it could be like poetic because it would never extinguish since it's the sun.
Oh, I like that layer.
That'd be sick.
Because they call Robin like the light or flame of the revolution all the time.
Yeah.
And so like for there to be like an actual light or flame that ends up being Sabo, which like Robin still would be the light or flame in the metaphorical sense, right? Like, you know, not taking away from that, but in a literal sense, it could also be Sabo, which like Sabo is like the guy who's most directly carrying Dragon's will, I would argue, at this point. So yeah. So for him to carry that like flame of the revolution type vibe, you know, by actually creating a legit flame of revolution by being the sun, which the sun in and of itself is a sign of liberation, you know, with the sun god. I think that would hit really hard. And just as like a way to kind of, for Ace to kind of get the last laugh to a degree, you know, to like end up being, like his fruit ended up helping beat Blackbeard. I think that would just be, that could hit on so many different levels, basically.
I would say, though, I would feel really bad for Luffy, who would just lose another brother. So that's like the only thing stopping me from going like full send with this, but yeah. I'm down with it.
Yeah, that would be sad. At least in this way, it would be like Sabo chose. Well, I mean, I guess Ace also chose to because he like got in front of the fist, but I don't know. That's kind of the layer of it, though. Like, you know, Luffy, that would give some motivation for Luffy. Like, imagine if like Blackbeard's this complete, like, seemingly undefeatable beast by the end, And then Sabo's like, all right, Luffy, I'm going to give you a chance by, like, you know, going up to the sun and, you know, creating it and probably not coming back or whatever. Luffy would be like, all right, I need to beat this guy. You know, like,
I gotta fight him.
Yeah, like, I
gotta win.
And he wouldn't even have time to be upset, right? Like, he kind of like with Ace when he was, like, distraught. He would almost have to, like, look past it and be like, all right, like, you know, both my brothers died so I could beat this guy type deal. Like, you know, like, I needed to stick around and accomplish this dream, bring the dawn, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that
I like that. I feel like when it comes to Luffy, I want him to, I wouldn't say grow, because I think he's already matured to the level he needs to be at. But I feel like that there is something you gain from loss. So losing both your brothers could be beneficial to an extent. And Sabo would, you know, 100 out of 10, like, he would always take the bullet for Luffy too.
100%. And
yeah,
especially, like, as the story goes on and Luffy's importance keeps increasing and they learn about Nika and, like, how the world really works and all this, I think, like, basically, I think people's willingness to give everything for Luffy is going to increase, which, like, I think Sabo already would do that, but I think, like, that could definitely come to a head later on, you know, when it's like, well, we need Nika to win this, you know, type, like, the whole world depends on it type deal. And I also think, and this is, I think, a good segue to, like, the other side to this awakening is, before Sabo does do this, if he does die or makes a second son, whatever, you know, crazy stuff, maybe before that, I and most people, because I ran a poll about this question, believe that Sabo is going to fight Akainu.
No.
Oh yeah, and so
no, stop, no.
So if that happens, if it happens, you know, I don't know how, like, he'd have to get hotter flames. I don't know, you know, I don't, like, that's not.
I agree.
Technically how it should work, but you know, if he's gonna fight Akainu, he would need it to happen. I guess is what I'm getting at.
I mean, flame has a lot of different colors to it, and every color has, like, a different level of heat. It's like the wrong way to put it. It's like capsaicin. You know, like your ghost peppers and stuff, but it's the same way with flames, where we have the white flame being the hottest flame in existence. I would like it if Sabo gets white flame. And for Sanji, he currently has blue flames, which are, like, a step below white. I think Sanji, you know, I know this isn't a Sanji video. You have your own Sanji video that's, you know, before this video.
Which I talk about all this stuff you're talking about. But continue.
Yeah.
So everyone knows. Those people probably know by the time they're watching this. But yeah.
Oh, hell yeah. I was thinking, like, Sanji could get black flame. So he could be, like, black leg Sanji, like,
cooking
to the T. Yeah, I think that'd be really sick. Like the Sasuke Amaterasu or something. But yeah, Sabo getting white flames would be really sick in my opinion. But as far as Sabo versus Akainu, as a big Akainu fan, I'm like, oh, please no, don't do this. Not to Sabo.
Yeah, because I feel like both ways there's like if Sabo were to lose or die to Akainu, that's a huge miss. You know, like, you can't have both brothers die to the same. But then by the same token, given that we already have the superiority element, it's like it would and Akainu's just, like, you know, he has a lot. We know he's a monster, but he hasn't done a whole lot since we've seen that. So, like, he needs to kind of show out. And so, like, for him to lose to Sabo against the fruit he's already beaten, that would also feel weird. So I get why there's some stickiness to it, but and I guess one thing I should mention is that actually white flames are a lower temperature than blue flames.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I got that wrong then.
No, I thought that, and that's like a Mandela effect. I'm looking at the chart now just because I wanted to make sure. So it goes red, orange, yellow, white, blue, and then violet. And so. Oh
yeah. So looking at it right here.
Yep. And I also did this in my video, which I'm actually, like, still scripting this part, so it's kind of funny that I'm talking about it because, like, I don't know exactly what my final word is in the video yet because I'm still doing it, but basically, you know, magma burns, like, magma or rock melts at a temperature that's lower than blue flame. Like it's like 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Like, blue flames can be hotter than magma. Like, can be, but they're very close. But violet flames are, like, they're almost, like, hard to create because it's such a high temperature of flame. And they are like 3,000 degrees. They're, like, way past magma, basically. Like, you could make magma for sure with purple flames. It's so hot, right? Like, you could burn a rock and melt it. And so tying to your black flame idea, which I totally agree with, which is in the video, you know, purple, like, you're getting to, like, darker colors in that aspect. You know what I mean? Like, you're going from, like, bright orange, yellow, whitish to blue to purple. Like, you're getting darker and darker. And so what if Oda just does a One Piece-ified version and is like, all right, the hottest one is black in One Piece. And
black.
And Awakened Zones and stuff have, like, black flame-looking things around them. And I don't know... And Sanji has swirly eyebrows. And I guess what I'm getting at is, like, what if he... like, is able to handle literal black flames, like the same thing that Awakenings use and whatever, because he's able to, like, just manipulate it with his own enhancements and hockey and whatever. And it's like,
yeah,
it could almost be a story of, like, how devil fruits came to exist in some way. Like, what if Sanji's, like, telling us that tale of, like, enhancements, will, emotions, like, all those things that Sanji has. He's almost, like, becoming a devil fruit, which I feel like is a theory I've heard for a long time, which, like, in this context makes more sense than maybe some of the others I've heard, but yeah, I think it would just be so cool for him to actually be Blackleg Sanji eventually.
Yeah, it would make so much sense, right? Because we had Redfoot Zeph, and the reason why he was Redfoot is because of the blood of his enemies. Mm-hmm. And it's like, Sanji, they call him Black Leg, but that's just because he wears black pants. Like, the minute Sanji switches the fit, like, is he gonna get a different nickname? I don't know.
But in Wano, he was still Black Leg, and he had on wine pants, you know, like, he should have been Red Leg, I guess, technically.
He should have been Red Leg.
Purple Leg, whatever it is.
Like, for Zoro, his epithet's changing with, like, with what he's doing. Like, now he's like King of Hell Zoro. Or not according to the wanted posters, but, you know, according to the fan base, you know, King of Hell Zoro's a thing.
Yep. Went from
cool?
Pirate Hunter to King of Hell. It's like, oh,
yeah,
you got a promotion, my guy. Like,
yeah, like, now for Sanji, on the opposite end, it's like, okay, he was Black Leg. What's the upgraded version? Well, you look at him here on Egghead Island, and it's like, oh, is he a tropical pants Sanji? I don't know.
Yeah, like, sometimes he just wears shorts. It's just hairy leg Sanji.
Yeah, hairy leg Sanji.
Like,
exactly.
Yeah, so I'm with you, man. Like, actually getting Black Leg Sanji would be dope. But what?
Dude, wait. If Sanji uses Ifrit Jambe, do you think his leg hair, like, do you think it, like, incinerates?
It should, but I think that he just probably coats it in hockey, because I think he said,
he
like,
coats his leg hair in hockey.
Well, his entire leg, so I guess down to the follicles.
Okay.
Down to the follicles. His entire leg,
okay.
Because whenever he used Ifrit Jambe, he said, like, with these new loosely speaking, I can't remember the exact dialogue, but with these new bio enhancements and my improved hockey, I can now withstand hotter and hotter flames. So, like, it's the combination of hockey and the improved Germa stuff that lets him handle blue flame. So that's part of, in my video that I did before this, the Sanji and Kuzan one, that's part of how I get to, like, how is Sanji going to handle purple or black flames? Well, if he keeps improving his hockey or gets better with the Germa enhancements and, like, learns how to, you know, incorporate those better, he should continue this trend of hotter and hotter flames. Like, that, he's already given us the formula, you know.
Yeah.
So I guess hockey would be protecting it, because if he can withstand those flames, I'm guessing that includes leg hair. Is my guess.
That's really cool. I like that.
That's Oda's attention to detail. It would be awesome if he talked about it. It's like, Sanji, how come your leg hairs are still there?
That sounds like an
hockey.
SBS question.
Oh, for sure. That's such an SBS question, man.
Yeah.
Like, for
how
sure.
does Sanji's leg hairs not burn off? Well, let me tell you about hockey.
And
down to the very follicle, it's all blackened out.
Like, oh god, that'd be so funny. And going back to Sabo, I guess, and his, like, you know, how he can fight Akainu, it would feel a little weird if this Sanji Diable Jambe stuff continues to be a factor and Sabo also is increasing his temperature. Like if Sabo gets blue flame, but then Sanji elevates to purple, it's gonna be like, oh, Sabo's a chump. You know, like Sabo's got to get up to agree. Like, he's got to get up to purple or black too. Like, they have to be on the same level. So I'm not really sure if his awakening would make him have hotter flames or not. Like that. Like, I would almost hope that he can do it without the awakening, where it's just like you're kind of like with Sanji, how he says, like, it's his burning passion or whatever, right? That's how. Like, I would kind of like that, where Sabo's like, he just gets. Which, like, it would look bad on Ace in this context, but, like, Sabo just figures that, like, his, you know, passion or his heart or his emotion or whatever ties to it more. Like, that might help. But even then, I think Oda's walking a fine line by having two people, with like increased temperature at their disposal. So so I don't know. I don't know what his awakening will be. I don't know if Blue Flame Sabo will happen or not.
Imagine if Blue Flame Sabo happens, and then Oda's like, "Hey, Ace actually was also blue, but we just didn't see it at that time in the manga."
The one time he needed to do it, just
it's like hockey.
Yeah.
Ace had hockey. We just didn't see it at Marineford, guys.
Yeah,
that's all it is.
Which I feel like part of that is why he's pushing the Ace manga more. Like they're making like the omnibus separate for like the Ace novel. Like, because Boichi made the manga version and they're selling that separate in an omnibus now. And I feel like that's part of it is like, hey, like Ace's history is going to be more important now, guys. Like I didn't talk about it a whole lot before he died, but it, you might want to know.
We're getting more out of Ace after his death, which is so funny, man.
Yeah, which.
Real quick, just so I don't sound like a maniac about the Sabo Akainu stuff. The reason why I'm not a big fan of that matchup isn't because I don't want, Sabo to beat Akainu. It's because I feel like Dragon would be a better opponent for Akainu because they have very opposing ideologies. Yeah. Where Dragon was like, hey, like, there is no justice there, and then Akainu is absolute justice. I can see them being like a yin and yang kind of thing. Maybe even they're like former partners. So I think it would be better if he was the one to stop Akainu and his crazy ways of justice, rather than Sabo, who has never met Akainu, right? Yes, of course, there's like the whole brother vengeance thing going on, but I could see Sabo and Akainu maybe clashing for a little bit, and then Dragon says, "Hey, let me handle this guy. Like I know Sakazuki. Let me deal with him." So that is why I'm not a big fan of the Sabo agenda. I know Roger's Base started like a SKA thing where it's like Sabo kills Akainu, and I was like, no, guys, no,
please no,
not like this. Please let it be Dragon. If anybody's gonna kill him, let it be as like a former partner.
Yeah, I think Dragon and Akainu have to have like an important clash. Like the debate to me comes down to like, well, if Dragon finishes that fight and beats Akainu, then it's like, what does Sabo do? That's kind of the issue there. Because Sabo needs something really important, which like, does Sabo go fight Emu, which he already kind of did? He like is the first one to tank an attack from Emu that we've seen, which, well, I use tank loosely. He was obviously, hurt real bad, but but so that's kind of the issue, because I always thought Dragon fighting Emu makes a lot of sense, and Dragon dying against Emu also. I thought that like that's where Dragon's story ends, is like he finally gets his chance to beat the top of the government that he's been trying to topple for years and years, and he loses. Like that would hit really hard. Like all his dreams are vanquished right in front of him, but then he learns that like his son is going to do it for him, and blah blah blah. Like there's like a lot that could hit there, and then for Sabo, like the brother stuff makes a lot of sense. But I agree at the same time, like Dragon and Akainu have to have a clash, a whole discussion on their past, like why they disagree, where they're like, why they're on the paths they're on. So it's tough, man. The final fights of the series are really hard to predict. That's why I'm focusing on the Blackbeard and Straw Hat ones, because I feel like I have a good grasp of those. But
yeah, those are like the easiest ones to like, and the it's perfect because there's the same amount of Blackbeard parts as there are to Straw Hats, and you know how Oda does that. So it's like it's pretty simple to just line it up and connect the dots. Whereas like everybody else, it's like, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah, like people have like agendas that need finished off, and like just important things in the past that need fleshed out. Like I don't know, Oda's got a lot of story to write. Like when he said it was going to end in 3 years, I remember
he lied, dude. He lied.
Yeah,
like, that's big time.
Yep. I think this summer is the 3-year mark since that comment.
Yes, it is. It is the 3-year mark. And then Oda, I think, when was it? Like in the last Jump Festa, Oda said, hey guys, the story of One Piece is ending in the next few years. And then he followed it up and he said, hey, by the way, though, don't take that seriously because I'm really bad with timelines, as you can tell. So even he knows it's a meme. Even Oda knows he's bad at it.
Exactly. He knows, and I think also, and not to say it's a bad thing, but I think Oda knows how to like sell his product, and by saying, "Hey, it's ending soon," that like builds urgency to the fans. Like, I better go get caught up. Better go buy the manga volumes now. I need to read every week because who knows what's going to be revealed because the ending's coming soon, right?
That happens with a lot of series. Like I know a lot of people are doing that for JJK, My Hero. Demon Slayer even. I mean, Demon Slayer's already done, but you know, like back
Right.
when that was still going on, people wanted to catch up. Tokyo Revengers, which people quickly dropped. Like, there's a lot of series where, by saying it's ending soon, it inspires a lot of people to just pick it up.
Mm-hmm. Like, I think Gege at the last
Shonen Jump strategy.
Yep. Gege at the last Jump Festa was like, this is the last Jump Festa that I'll be at where JJK is still ongoing. And we're like, I think like 3 or 4 months, and JJK's, I would be flabbergasted if it ended in the next 3 or 4 months, to be honest. Like, we're very close. We're getting pretty close. We're getting close, but 3 or 4 months seems kind of crazy.
Yeah, there's so much left to do.
Yeah, which you and I need to talk about JJK sometime too.
I didn't even know you were caught up until you said that. I was like, oh damn.
Oh yeah. Oh, the last chapter had me hyped, man. Like, we don't, not to get too deep into this right now, but I guess I'll just say very briefly.
Yeah.
I did not like where the last couple chapters were going. Felt a little repetitive.
Same.
And I was actively not enjoying a couple of them, but this last one was elite. This last one,
it was good. It was everything we wanted.
Yeah, there you go.
Christmas.
Yes, exactly. Like, I've been waiting for that to happen. What happened in that chapter? So that's all.
Someone got rizzed up, tied to a wall, and then slapped. Like, it was amazing.
That's couldn't have put it better myself. That's exactly it. All right, so we just have a couple more Logias here to get through. Let's talk about Caesar's gas fruit awakening.
Hey man,
I know.
I was hoping you. There's one character in particular. I'm like, okay, I'm excited for this one.
Yeah. So my guess is that if he awakened, because we kind of saw this in Punk Hazard, could he just like take all the oxygen away from the planet and everyone just suffocates? You know what I'm saying? Like, could he and that's like a whole planet, and like awakenings, that would be crazy for a whole planet to be affected. Usually it's like an island, like we saw at Punk Hazard.
Yeah.
But regardless, I don't know. I feel like Caesar, if he awakened and did it right, he would be the most OP thing ever. Just like, oh, you all can't breathe now. I just created space.
I hate it because it's I feel like Caesar's devil fruit is so busted. Like, you could easily just take away the oxygen and then everybody dies. But the reason I hate it is I think I'd just be spamming that one ability over and over.
Oh yeah.
I'd just be pressing X, like, okay, spam no oxygen, spam no oxygen. Like, that's the easiest way to win. And then even for Luffy, like, yeah, Luffy beat Caesar, but Luffy had to hold his breath. Like, it's not easy. Like, if Caesar was just durable or like elusive, he could have won that fight, to be honest.
Yeah. And dude, I don't know what the right terminology here is, but he messed up Katakuri with the hallucinogenic gas, right? Like, he used it and he started fighting freaking Oven. He was so confused.
Katakuri was so, and he has future sight, dude. This guy has hockey. You know how Kaido said, "Hey, hockey transcends devil fruits." Like, tell that to Katakuri.
Yeah, tell that to Caesar.
This dude was struggling.
Yes, like, Kaido doesn't want to see Caesar. Now, can you use hockey to make it so you're not affected by that? I doubt it. Like, because like, if you're taking the oxygen out of like how are you gonna use hockey to like stop someone from taking your oxygen from near you? Like, that's way
Black
different
lungs,
than,
I guess.
Like, now maybe the hallucinogenic gas could be stopped by hockey, because it's like, I'm not going to be affected by this devil fruit power like impacting my body directly. But like the oxygen thing, it's like, that's just like a natural thing, like if you don't have air to breathe, you're cooked.
Yeah, you just die, man. Like, I mean, I can't tell you much about that.
Yeah. So, and to be clear, I guess I don't think we will see Caesar's awakening. I don't think he's important. I think most of the people we talked about we will see, like Blackbeard, Kizaru, Greenbull, Croc, Enel, Smoker, Dragon, Sabo. We will see all of those. Caribou, probably not. I know we talked about him a little bit at the beginning. Probably not Caribou. Caesar, probably not also. But I don't know, man. I think the reason we won't is because it's so broken. I'm
like looking around right now, and it's like, I don't even think there's an island that could be insinuated as Caesar's awakening either. Like, for the other guys, like you said, like, we have like instances where we could be like, oh, Alabasta was Crocodile. Smoker jokingly is the Florian Triangle.
Yeah, Rajan Islands,
Enel. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those things. And then for Caesar, it's like, I don't really have anything. I don't remember like a gaseous island. And then there's even one that could be related to filler. There's a filler Logia user, Gasparde. Yeah, he has candy fruit. He could have been the reason why Whole Cake Island has syrup water.
Oh, that would be cool. Which, like, he's
the guy's like a syrup man.
What's he from? What's like his non-canon? affiliation?
I think it's the movie called Dead End.
Okay, I've never seen that. I need to go like
Dead
on a
End
movie
Adventure.
marathon, but
It was the first good One Piece movie in my opinion. Hot take.
What number is that?
I think it's 3 or 4.
Okay. I need to go watch some of these because like for instance, Strong World. I did a whole video talking about Shiki and how Strong World, you know, probably spoils a lot about Shiki's like future.
Yeah.
So I might have to go. Excuse me. I might have to go check that out.
And Shiki's another guy that kind of ties in loosely to what we were talking about earlier about how devil fruits could spur human evolution. Because Shiki lifted the islands above the clouds, and then all the guys wanted to leave, so they eventually developed wings.
Yep.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, there's instances, man.
And I mean, yeah, there's like, wow, that's actually crazy. What if he is like the originator of Sky Islands, or something?
Oh my
like
god,
that?
yeah,
That'd be so crazy.
Well, that would be bad.
Well, there is that thing in Wano that's like a floating, like, I don't know what you would call it, just like a roof. Like it's like in the middle of the flower capital, just floating. Like that's like it's another like permanent effect.
Yeah, what the hell is that? It's not is it a roof? It's a tree, right?
No, it's like I call it a roof. Like there is a roof to it, but it's it's like part of a building is like what it looks like. It's like the roof of like a pavilion type. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, I don't know what the hell's going on there. Like I've been to Japan, you know, I've been to Asia. I've seen some of these houses, man. Let me tell you, it doesn't look like this.
That's funny. Yeah,
nobody builds it like that, man.
I've been to Japan. I didn't see anything like this.
Yeah, it's like something out of Vietnam, you know, like how they're hiding in the trees and stuff.
Yeah,
that's like, damn, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Something's going on there.
Yeah, and about Caesar's Awakening, so like I agree, we probably haven't seen anywhere like it, but I think a cool kind of connection is Punk Hazard after he did the Shinokuni thing is kind of like what it might look like. You know what I'm saying? Because like now Punk Hazard, which would be a fitting thing because Punk Hazard, you know, may have shown us our first Logia awakenings with Aokiji and Akainu, but then later it was covered in like that poison gas, right? That Caesar made. And I almost think that's maybe what his awakening could be like if he did, where maybe he could cover an entire island in just deadly gas where they all die like that. So he almost did what his awakening does, but he made the bomb instead of doing it, I think is maybe like what we could take away from that. Because,
man, it would suck to live on that island.
Oh, yeah. Dude.
You'd have to like grow new lungs or something.
I felt so bad for like the people that like Caesar was acting like he was taking care of him. And he's like, oh, just stay in this room. You know, we'll heal you up. And then he just like filled it with like poison gas and the guy just died or whatever, like one of his like followers.
Yeah, I think the worst part is that Caesar didn't have to be that mean. Like, these guys would actually follow him and listen to him. Like, if Caesar was just nice, like, he could have had a really cool army.
Oh, yeah. Oh, easily.
Yeah, just, like, manipulate them, dude. Like, it's easy.
And it kind of ties to Strong World, because in Strong World, they had something called SIQ, which is, like the extract from the IQ plants. And in my Shiki video, I talked about how that is, like, undoubtedly a parallel to SAD, like SAD, like SIQ, SAD. Yeah. You have the 3-letter acronyms, both start with S. They use SIQ to basically give these giant creatures devil fruit powers, essentially. Like, they evolve more, so they get, like, they can breathe fire, use electricity, blah, blah, blah. And Caesar was kind of doing, you know, a similar thing with SAD, but with zone fruits, right? He was, like, making people into animals instead of making animals into, you know, devil fruit users or whatever. So, yeah, I don't know. Oda, there's a lot there, I think.
It definitely feels like he's prototyping his ideas in the movies and, like, spin-offs.
Like,
he's testing the waters.
Top Musica might be, like, the Gorosei getting summoned, potentially. Right?
And the thing with Top Musica, too, is that people tend to forget this, but the guy who directed Film Red and wrote some, like, a majority of the script, if not all of the script, he knows the ending of One Piece. That guy knows everything.
Yes, he does.
That's, like, Oda's best friend.
Yep. Yeah, that guy. Yeah, he wrote pretty much all the script for that. And it's like, you know, between him writing that and Oda approving it, and, you know, just any discussions therein, it's like there's probably a lot we can take from it, especially with like Uta trying to send people to like the song dimension or whatever, the dream dimension by song, whatever, however you want to, you know, phrase it. It's like we've already seen in One Piece that there's like different dimensions. Like the door dimension is like the maybe best example. The mirror world is another example. And I think the underworld is going to prove to be another example of that. And I wonder if that is like the circles that the Gorosei use are portals or doors to that dimension. So like they're literally pulling like actual demons out or whatever, which is basically what Top Musica was. It's just instead of like a normal circle, you did a song, right? You sang a song and then the guy showed up. So
that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
I actually you know how like in Marie's Rod there's something called the Phantom Room?
Yep.
Sometimes I wonder if the Phantom Room is a physical way to get to this different dimension as well.
Ooh, I
think that'd be pretty sick.
I'm waiting to see what that Phantom Room is, because I could see, I'm kind of 50-50 where it could be the room that like the flower room. It could also maybe be the same thing, like the one that Emu's in, but then maybe they call it Phantom because like they don't know what's in there, right, or something like that. Or it could be a totally new room like you're talking about that has like some special crazy stuff that no one's supposed to see and like it takes you to the underworld. Or maybe it's like, what if Emu has like a summoning circle that's like permanently ongoing to stay in this world, and that's what's in the Phantom Room is like Emu's circle, and if the circle gets destroyed, then Emu like gets sent back or something. I don't know.
Sorry, I laughed a second ago because when we were talking about the Phantom Room, I was about to say, like, yo, what if it's actually just a rumor and it doesn't exist? It's kind of like when we talked about Boa and how she could have been, like, lying, and how anticlimactic it would be if Boa was just lying about the whole petrification thing. Imagine the Phantom Room is actually just a rumor that we'll never learn about.
Oh, my God.
That'd be so crazy.
Which, normally I would say no chance, but, you know, Oda, we are talking about the guy who, in Wano, he was like, he had Zoro make an agreement to give up Shusui on the condition of going to see Ryuma's grave, and we did not see Ryuma's grave. And in fact, we even got in the anime that freaking Zoro went and visited 2 graves, and neither were Ryuma's.
Dude! Why the hell did he visit Dude,
why is Pedro's grave there? Why is it there?
Dude, the guy died on Whole Cake.
He's from Zou. He's from Zou.
He's from Zou. Zou was here. Karen went
back. Karen went back. Dude. And he visited Yasuo's grave.
Up. There's nothing left to bury.
All you're doing is putting a headstone somewhere to honor him. Why would it be on Wano, the closed-off country that he had? Was he ever even there? He never visited.
He never went. He never went to Wano. Why the hell is he here, dude? That was so funny. I laughed my butt off, dude.
I remember that episode came out when I was at Anime NYC, and like I wasn't like actually mad, but I was like jokingly like, guys, like I'm so disappointed. Like I can't believe Zoro visited 2 graves and neither were Ryuma's. Like how?
Yeah, like Yasue at least makes sense. Pedro, dude, Zoro met Pedro for a brief second, but he wasn't at Whole Cake, so he didn't spend time with this. It's a stranger.
He wasn't there when he died. Like if at least Brook was there with Zoro, in that scene, because Brook had a very close connection to Pedro, and Brook and Zoro already spent time at a grave together with the Rumbar grave, right? So if they like replayed that scene and had like Zoro there for Yasu and Brook there for Pedro,
damn, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, much better. Oh, we're cooking now. But no.
We're cooking now.
But no. Oh, dude. And like Yasu, I totally get visiting Yasu's grave. I love Yasu. Great. But no offense to him. If there's one grave Zoro's visiting, it's not his, it's Ryuma's. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It should have been both. It should have been Yasu's and then or put Yasu's next to Ryuma's.
You know what, dude? F it, man. Pedro's grave could be next to Ryuma. Like, you know, we could have got all 3 for all I care.
Put them there if we have to. Yeah. You know, if that would have been better than in the middle of like a random forest or whatever, like it was. I think that's in like a certain section. Forest. Yeah, but even then, it's like, I don't know.
That's crazy to me, man.
Yeah, same. I have a lot of issues with Wano, and that's at the very top of my list.
Maybe Oda's saving it for like when Zoro gets his next upgrade. We'll see Ryuma's grave and Oda, and then we see Zoro talking to him, or like paying his respects or something. Yeah,
like Zoro becomes king of hell and then can like converse with Ryuma. You know what I mean?
Or maybe we could get the whole like Brook and Zoro scene where you know, they visit a grave together again, like the Rumbar pirate thing you talked about.
Yeah.
What if Brook awakens his devil fruit, and that's how Zoro was able to converse with Ryuma?
I wonder where Ryuma's body's at right now, because it was at Thriller Bark. But
just
regardless,
fell off a cliff.
I love that nonetheless, though. Well, here's the thing: Thriller Bark is mobile, and we saw it in the New World. right?
Oh yeah.
It was at Hachinosu.
Blackbeard has it, I think.
Oh wow! So Ryuma's body could get returned. Oh, that is awesome. That's just a cool idea.
Yeah, I think we talked about Blackbeard and his group mobilizing to different islands. If they do bring Thriller Bark as one of their ships to Wano, then Ryuma's corpse could get returned. Wait, that's big.
That's actually crazy.
That's huge.
Because they probably are going to want, like, at least the Blackbeard pirates. But then what's Moria doing? Well, Moria might go work for the Cross Guild, and then the Cross Guild going to Wano for some reason. That wouldn't be the most insane thing of all time. Like, that would make sense, honestly. Especially because Pluton's there, and Crocodile wanted Pluton. So if they're going to ever get it, or he's going to try to, that's where he would go. Because, like, I think Blackbeard getting it seems like the most likely. But,
yeah.
You know, but I think there's a good chance that Blackbeard's going to be like, I don't want those, or I already know about those, or something where he doesn't have to go, I think could happen.
Man, that would suck though. Like, I feel like in the real world or just any like peaceful society, having an ancient weapon and a road poneglyph would be massive. Like tourism would bump up. You know, people could sell snacks and you could have little stalls there. But in the world of One Piece, bro, like you're just asking to get ran through. You know, like it's a place you have to go to become king of the pirates.
Yep.
And rule the world. It's like, damn, dude. People are just gonna mess up Wano. Like, if I lived in Wano, I'd probably propose an idea like, hey, let's push the poneglyph and the ancient weapon into the ocean. You know, get it out of here. Like, I don't want these guys coming.
You know that Patrick meme where he's like, what if we move it from here and put it over here or whatever? It's just like
no,
that.
Exactly.
But like what you're saying about Wano, I think exists even tenfold for Fishman Island, because they have an ancient weapon. They had a road poneglyph, although we don't know where it went. And literally, you have to go through there to become Pirate King, like to go to the New World. You know what I'm saying? Like every pirate goes through there. If I was in Fishman Island, I'd be like, hey man, let's not tell a single soul about the ancient weapon part of this, and then let's just get rid of the poneglyph. You know, like please, like I don't want this. Which is uncanny now that it's not there, and that's the one the man marked by flames has, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I think
maybe they're the savior of Fishman Island. Maybe they foresaw all of this that we're talking about now. They're like, hey, maybe we should get rid of this thing.
Yeah, well,
this is bad.
That's actually where my man marked by flames theory comes from, is that I think that Whitebeard, because he held that territory for pretty much the entire time between Roger finding it and him dying, or Whitebeard dying, right? He held it like that entire time, and him and Neptune were like BFFs. Like they said, like since they were kids, they were boys, which we don't know exactly how they met or anything, like when they were young, but we know that they've been best friends for a long time, like very, very close. And so I think what happened was after Blackbeard betrayed Whitebeard and Whitebeard started planning the Marineford thing, I think he was like, hey, Neptune, you might want to move that. You know, like, once I die, everyone's going to come here. And if you have a road poneglyph, the strongest people are going to be coming here. Like we need to move
people
it.
You don't want to mess with.
Yeah. And so I think Whitebeard made a plan, like with the man marked by flames, which I think is Mass Deuce. But whoever it is, I think it has to be someone that Whitebeard knows. Because it's like, hey, you got to hide this for me kind of thing. Like, you need to hold this until the right person comes, and then you need to give it to them, which is Luffy, obviously. And it would be kind of like Whitebeard and Ace helping from beyond the grave in that way. You know, like, because they're both on that crew and both hate Blackbeard and stuff, which may have necessitated moving it. Because Blackbeard knew about the territories and would go down there for sure. Like, I bet you he went to Fishman Island looking for the poneglyph and realized it was gone, and that's how he's like, where the hell to go, you know?
Well, but now he's gonna have to go back for Shirahoshi.
Yep. And
Fishman Island cannot catch a break.
I mean, we know Shirley's prophecy. You know, they're cooked.
It's gonna happen. Luffy's gonna destroy Fishman Island. I feel it.
Or it'll be
Devon.
Yep, exactly. Or it'll be Devon with Luffy's appearance, one or the other.
That'd be so cool. Like, imagine Devon pretending to be Luffy, and then there's, you know how, like, the Fishman kids are, like, they have Luffy's hat, and they love to cosplay Luffy because he's a savior. Mm-hmm. Imagine they just meet their hero for the very first time, and it's the fake Luffy, and they just go around killing all the kids. That'd be so cool, man.
It'd be so cool.
They're like, wait, you're the hero. You're the hero. Like, I thought humans were good. You know, like, I thought Luffy was the one exception. And then Devon just slaughters all of them, man. That would be sick. And in a bad but good way.
Exactly. No, I know what you mean. That
yeah,
like we talked earlier, that's that tension building stuff. That's the stuff where you're like, shit, like what do the crew even do?
Them, yeah.
Like how does the crew even combat this? You know, like what, like that's like a mental attack. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I don't even know.
And then Luffy sees the fish people again, and then they all hate him, and then Luffy's like just accepting it, kind of like the bar scene with Bellamy. He's like, hey, like let's just let's not try to fight for it. Let's just beat them.
That would be so crazy.
Yeah,
it would be kind of reminiscent too of maybe like Calgara and Noland, where they're like best friends, and there's like a misunderstanding where like because Noland destroyed the trees, but he did it for a different reason, and they're like, you know, it's like a little bit different, but it's the same kind of idea where like Calgara was best friends, then hated him, and then realized he was wrong at the very end and became friends with him again, even though, you know, they never met after that. But
so good.
Yeah,
I love bitter stories like that.
Same.
We need more tragedies.
Yeah, I agree. That's why Nolan and Calgara is one of my favorite flashbacks, if not my number one favorite in the whole story. Just
I'm not a big Skypiea fan, but I love that flashback.
Same. That flash. When I think of Skypiea, that's actually the first thing I think of is Noland because of how good it was.
Yeah, I think of Nolan, Calgara, and then just the Enel fight. Like the Satori, the priest fights. I kind of push that to the side.
I block those out entirely.
Yeah.
The fight against the White Berets, I cringe when I think about that. Like
Luffy and Sanji, they lost to Satori, man. Or they didn't lose, but they got extreme diff by that guy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Which, like, man, that guy is a fool. That Satori, man, just everything about him.
Brothers come in, Hattori and something else, absolute goobers.
Yeah, all of them, man. Like, I'm glad we fought him first and got him out of the way. Even though like the other priests were like just as bad, like Gidatsu, which is kind of my goat because he found the mole that had Mount Fuji on his helmet, and that's like led to the Pluton as a mole theory, but.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Gidatsu.
Yes, and he had his own cover story, man. Like that's That's like crazy.
I love his gag where every time he tries to talk, he just has his mouth closed or something. He just
Yep. He like forgets to open it, and he's like just reaching his arms around. He's like, I don't know where to use them. Like, yeah, so weird. Such a weird dude.
It's a great. Good gag.
Yeah.
Better than Satori, who has like the ho ho ho.
Yep. Ho ho. Ho ho!
Yeah.
Yep.
Then he has
over and
the
over.
dumb brothers, Hotori and Kotori. I'm looking at these sons of guns right now on the side. I'm getting pissed.
Yeah.
Just looking at these losers.
That reminds me of Caribou and Korribu. Like we just don't even need Korribu. You know?
Yeah. Dude, I forget Corbu even existed, man. That guy's dead. 192 million berries, and I think he just died in the ocean.
Yeah. Well, he's still alive. He's still out there.
Is he still alive?
Yes. He. I'm trying to think of the order of events, but like, yeah, like. Caribou screwed him over several times, but they're still out there. I don't know exactly. I mean, I think they crashed somewhere, but you know, with like Oda being Oda, like you know, they're
Haribo.
Yeah, they're out there somewhere.
Blood Splatterer Koribo. Okay, yeah,
that's the name.
Alive.
Yep, he's out there somewhere. I don't know. I have no idea what he's doing, but.
Oh yeah, no. I see it right here. He landed on a random island. He gets forsaken by his brother.
Yep.
Interesting.
Is that in the cover story?
Yeah, with Gabaru.
Yep. Yeah. Yep. Like Caribou.
Huh.
Even earlier in that cover story, Caribou kind of like screwed his brother over, but then his brother came to save him, and then like it happened again. Like his brother just keeps trying to help him, even though Caribou's like a dickhead. Like I feel kind of bad for Caribou, to be honest.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be.
Caribou, he just seems like a dumb guy. Like he means well.
Yeah. He is.
Yeah.
All right.
He's kind of like Ratatouille. He has like a gecko on his head too.
Yes. Yeah. I actually like that design. I think that's a cool. That makes him memorable, but nothing else he does is memorable. You know, just that alone.
It's just the hair.
Exactly. All right. So we have one more Logia fruit to talk about.
Here we go.
It is Karasu's Soot fruit.
Waiting for this guy, this son of a gun.
And I think this is kind of similar to some of the others where we may have seen the awakening. Like I'm not 100% on this,
okay.
But you know how he has like the crows that go everywhere and can talk for him, like going back to Kizaru's like light clone thing, right?
Yeah.
Karasu's been doing this for a long time, right? And like this is like his thing, is to have these crows go everywhere and like do his work for him. They're almost like sentient on their own, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And going back to what we talked about, we're like, how do you make like an element like conscious or sentient, like kind of tying to like the zones have wills of their own. Paramecias are kind of like human, like imagination, kind of like, you know, like doctors being a better doctor, engineers being a better engineer, sort of thing. It's like, how do you get the element part to it there? Well, Karasu's showing us that he's like made them kind of sentient. Like he has like, you know, the birds can talk and act on their own and stuff.
They're kind of like Den Mushis even, because you can like communicate through them, and it's like, damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, and I, you know, is it awakening? I think that's, you know, that's really hard to say, but I would honestly argue that Karasu's maybe like the right type of person to have awakened. You know what I'm saying? Like being a Revolutionary Army commander, if Dragon has a wind fruit, you know, like he actually has a wind Logia, like that would be kind of like a learning tool there. Sabo also has a Logia, so it's like he has, you know, his bosses are know how to use those things. And so I think it would kind of make sense. And I think just a cool layer to his power is, you know, Soot is like what's left behind after something burns, right? So obviously Ace has the fire fruit. We talked about Smoker having the smoke fruit. And then so the Soot kind of like completes that trio. You know what I mean? Like you have the fire itself, the burnt like carbon material basically left over behind, like the ashes. And then also the smoke from smokers. And I'm not saying, I don't know how these three would like weave together in some way, but I just think it's interesting that Oda's like made a Logia out of each part of burning something, I guess, you know?
Yeah, no, it's really on theme, and it even ties in with like Smoker, because we kind of talked about how Smoker's another like a devil fruit that's kind of passive.
Yeah, so same
so
thing.
So Karasu just kind of falls in, huh?
Yeah, and you know, if the crows aren't his awakening, then I think we will definitely see his, you know, like comparing it to like Caribou and Caesar and some of the other ones we talked about. Like this is on my list of, we have to see this one, because I think the Revolutionary Army commanders are going to have some important fights in the future. We already saw Morley throwing hands with Greenbull, which I love bringing up because Morley's like laughing and Greenbull's like freaking out. It's like Morley's not even taking it seriously. So
I hate the Revolutionary commanders, man.
Oh, really?
They're such goobers, yeah.
Oh,
I think it's because I'm a big fan of like deadly powers. So seeing everybody like fight, I'm like, okay, come on. I mean, Karasu's the best one in my opinion. But like seeing like Morley, Bello Betty, and I forgot the
Lindbergh?
the inventor guy, Lindbergh. Yeah, seeing them fight, I'm like, okay, it's not that cool.
Yeah, like Ivankov. I love seeing Ivankov fight. You know, I'll watch that all day. But yeah, no, I agree. For me, Karasu is the coolest one, but my favorite is Morley. Sure. You know, like, but I could probably not, or yeah, I could not care less about Lindbergh currently. Honestly, he's the one who needs the most work, I feel like.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like the coolest thing about Karasu is that when he actually attacks with his devil fruit, there's one panel in particular where his hands go through the paneling.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's like one of the few times where that's happened, and it's like, yo, like, I feel it. I feel like that could be something Luffy will do in the future, so I love how the Soot Devil Fruit is somehow able to do that as well.
Well, and
I'm looking through his wiki, and apparently, like, they're saying it could be a nod to Italian folk legend about the days of the black bird. And as the legend goes, once during those days, a blackbird and its chicks, originally white, were said to have taken refuge inside a chimney.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And that's pretty much it. So it's like, okay.
Oh.
Like, I like that the Soot and the bird connection might have came from, like, a real life thing.
So I'm so glad you brought that up and it's on the wiki, because when his fruit was revealed, I brought that up and I felt crazy because nobody knew what I was talking about. Well, like, I'm sure some people did, but that's how it felt at the time based off the few chats I read. Was like, I was like, oh, damn, nobody knows this story, because I had a chimney growing up that we used like for fires all the time, right? Like my parents loved having the fireplace going. And on a number of occasions, a bird would get stuck in the chimney and we would have to let it out through the fireplace and then get it out of the house. But before that happened, it would just hit all the walls and leave soot all over the place, right? And so whenever that happened, I was like, oh, guys, this is 100% a connection to the birds that get stuck in chimneys because they turn black even if they're a different color. And everyone's like, oh, dude, you might, like, I've never heard about that, but maybe. So now that it's in the wiki, I feel really confident that that's it, because that's like 100% a thing. Like,
yeah,
like that's like it's probably way more common in certain parts of the world that had chimneys more, but like my house, since we use it, I knew about it personally. Like that's 100% what it is. And that kind of makes me wonder about his awakening of like when it might happen, because like birds in a fireplace, it's like to, think about Sabo and having the flame fruit. Like I don't know how they would combine, but I feel like those two like kind of awakening at the same time could maybe make sense, or like in the same place. I don't know.
Yeah, like a double domain expansion. Yeah,
because they kind of merge.
It would really complement.
Yeah, it'd be perfect. And maybe Smoker also. You get all three of them. Which,
yeah,
like,
get everybody coming in and awakening at the same time. Yeah,
like triple domain expansion, which like going back to JJK, which I don't want to spoil anyone watching, but you definitely there's definitely some domain battles. I guess I'll say that. It's not, if you watch the anime, I don't think it's that crazy to think of. But
so according to the SBS trivia, last thing about Karasu here, but his favorite food are wieners.
It just says wieners, not like hot dogs or sausage, but wieners.
It just says wieners. Karasu loves wieners, and his least favorite food are chicken dishes, because he loves birds. So, yeah.
Okay, well I like that, but
yeah, I love how Ona just throws in that Karasu loves wieners. Not even hot dogs or nothing, just he loves wieners.
Oh my, he could have just put like Vienna sausage, or something.
Yeah, Vienna sausage,
brats.
Kielbasa sausage,
yeah.
bratwurst, like anything.
Wieners, it's just all of them.
Yeah, he loves the wieners, man.
That's
he loves
so
them
funny.
dogs.
Well, honestly, I could not think of a better way to end this discussion than Karasu liking wieners. I think that's the perfect place. So Sai, thank you so much for joining me. This is the very first one that I've done on my channel, but obviously we've done a few on yours. So it was awesome having you here. We'll do more. You got any final words? Go ahead.
Definitely we'll have like a second or third date, like.
Oh, yeah.
I would swipe right on this conversation.
Got you. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, because you swiped right already by being here, but when you get to the second date, that's when you did something right. So.
Real quick. There's one more awakening that I want to bring up.
Okay.
I call this an honorable mention, a bonus one, if you will.
Okay. Extra
Monet
credit.
and her snow devil fruit. Yeah, extra credit. Monet and her devil fruit could be either the island that we saw that Kaido liked, the one with the crazy technology. It could be related to that. Or it could even be related to Drum Island. Monet could be the cause of all those islands, or even both of them. Not Monet, but like the previous user of Monet's devil fruit, the snow fruit.
Exactly. That's why I didn't even include her in the list, because I was like, well, she's dead. We're not, until someone gets it, we may not see it. But talking about it in the past tense is a good idea. So I think it's tough, because you could probably say like every snow island, every winter island could be her. So it's like kind of tough to break it down that way. But I think if I had to pick one, I think the place Blackbeard is from is the best bet, because he's probably from a snowy country, tying to what Luffy said in Drum Island, and that's where we first heard of Blackbeard was Drum Island, which is snowy, so that all kind of makes sense. And I think that island is actually the one that Ace met Shanks at. Do you remember that? When Ace,
I remember that, because they met in like a weird cave. Yeah,
in a mountain. And I talk about this in my Blackbeard Doesn't Sleep video, which will come out about a week from the time this one drops. And so I think what was going on is Shanks was there, because he already had the scar at that point. Obviously, it was like 10 years before that. And I think he went there to try to find out like who Blackbeard's what Blackbeard's lineage is, how you beat these people, because they obviously have some special power that helps Blackbeard here, right?
Yeah.
So and so the reason why I think Monet makes sense for that is it's just important, generally speaking. That just makes sense. But also, the underworld is tied to the cold, right? Like the chill of the underworld. That's how Brook has ice powers. That's how V Nostro probably does it as well. And so for Blackbeard to be, from a really cold place, that already makes sense, because if the underworld is cold, Blackbeard's like an evil, dark kind of guy. So the underworld already ties in beautifully. So then maybe for him to be from a place that was like forcefully turned cold, you know what I mean, by a devil fruit, because he's a devil fruit guy, I think that would match really well. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I like that.
Hey, that's all I gotta say then. Hopefully I was somewhat helpful here in this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Please subscribe to Dax, and if you want to subscribe to me, you can find my YouTube channel over at youtube.com/@DaxSake. That's where I'm going to be doing all my content in the future. So please subscribe to that channel. I would really appreciate it.
And if you want to find his actual channel, well, you have multiple channels, don't you? So if you want to find
those,
it's
just go to the main one, SYV. Okay. I have too many channels.
It'll be in the description if you guys want to go check it out.
Yeah.
But
yes. Sorry about having so many channels. It's trust me, I don't want this either.
It's YouTube's fault. We'll just blame it on them.
Yeah, blame YouTube. Blame YouTube.
Do you have any exciting videos coming out that you want to promo?
Yeah. So I should be having a video talking about Shanks being a werewolf and Mihawk being a vampire, and some other Gorosei honorable mentions and like Celestial Dragon mentions. I think they're all cryptids. I think Oda's gonna tap really hard into mythology and folklore, and we're gonna get some really wacky ones. And that's kind of where I'm leaning towards with that video. So hey, that should be coming out in the near future. So hopefully you guys stay tuned for that. Other than that, I have a lot of videos where I just talk to a camera. If you're a big fan of low edited videos, definitely check out my channel. But and I'm also hoping to bring back Sake on in the future as well. He's a great guy. I love talking to him. I feel like I'm really engaged in these conversations. We bounce ideas off of each other pretty well. And it's like talking to a friend. So thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
Oh, well, thank you, man. That means a lot. I feel the same way.
Well, I mean, it is talking to a friend.
Yeah, it is. And I even had some people like follow me and leave comments on my videos after seeing our discussion, and they even said a similar thing, like, "Oh, you guys, like the chemistry was really good. It seemed like you guys were just two friends talking about One Piece. I loved it, so I came over here. Love your stuff." So like, very thankful for you for inviting me and bringing some new people over to my channel. It seems like they like it, and I don't know. Let's keep doing it, man. I love these discussions.
It's fun doing it.
Great.
One day we'll share a beer or something.
Yes, we will.
I feel it.
Yeah, we will.
I feel it.
We got to get you out to one of these cons or something. You know,
one of them. Yeah, I've been avoiding every convention for my life.
Anime NYC in August should be your goal if you're able to.
I always get invited. I always turn it down. Maybe one day though. I feel it. August, it's gonna happen.
Anime NYC is gonna be special, man. A lot of us are staying in the same hotel, and I won't share all the other detail. I'll leave that off the video. I'll tell you.
You dox all the YouTubers.
Yeah,
YouTuber hotel.
Yeah, not gonna share that. It's close. It's close to the convention center,
But before we end off, have you heard the story about the Yu-Gi-Oh tournament that took place a week ago?
No.
It's so funny. So there's not a lot of professional Yu-Gi-Oh players or girls that go to tournaments. And there was a girl who went to a tournament, and I think it was like Japan, and she left early before she could play. And then people were worried about her. They said, "Oh, like there was a girl that was here earlier. She registered and everything, but she left. Like I'm afraid that she got bullied out of it, or she was overwhelmed by all the guys here."
Okay.
And then the lady came out in a post and said, "Hey, I think that might have been me. I'm so sorry about that, but I wasn't harassed or anything. The reason I left is because everybody in the room smelled really bad."
Oh my god, that's so funny. Because that's an issue. That's been an issue.
It is.
So my roommate, which Cam, if you're watching, hope you're doing well. But but my old roommate, he talked about that, where like even in like the Yu-Gi-Oh, like they sent out like a notice at one point telling players like, "Hey, you need to be aware of like your body odor or something at these tournaments."
That was Magic the Gathering, yes.
Well, I know they I forget exactly what the whole context was, but I know Yu-Gi-Oh players have that
musk.
Yeah, or the I guess what's the word I'm looking for? They have
odor. The gas fruit.
No, there's like a simple word that, like, I'm trying to think of the specific word I thought of, and I'm like focusing on it way too much. People have that opinion of them. That's like the sentiment around them is that they is that they smell bad. So
it's like Nadatsu, how he has the gag where he doesn't open his mouth. Yu-Gi-Oh players have the gag where they just smell really bad.
They don't
don't take showers.
Which, like, I mean, it's bad when like the whole card game gets that sentiment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like when people, that's like one of the first
They're
things
like
they think of.
The Skypeans, like how they don't know what rubber is. Yu-Gi-Oh players don't know what a shower is.
What deodorant
they don't know
is.
What water is.
Yeah,
deodorant. It sucks
funny.
because I play Yu-Gi-Oh too, so it's like, damn.
Yeah, and I like Yu-Gi-Oh, to be clear.
Yeah.
This is not to dog Yu-Gi-Oh, but whether you play Yu-Gi-Oh or do anything, if you smell bad, that's not good. You know what I mean?
That's gonna be the One Piece fan base, because One Piece has a trading card game out there too.
Oh, true. Which it's getting very big.
It's getting pretty big. I've been keeping an eye on it, and it looks pretty good. I'm not a fan of the card artworks, because they're drawn by a lot of different artists.
Yeah.
So you'll have a bunch of clashing styles, and there's even some cards that are legit just pictures pictures of real life objects.
Yep.
So funny.
Some are just panels, you know, which like I kind of like those, but it's like, but I know what you mean by like the different artists and like even the styles of the artists are like so different.
It's so drastic.
Where like in Pokemon, I like that because I want different styles of my characters, but in One Piece, I'm like, I'm kind of used to them looking one way. You know what I mean? Like I'm used to them.
Yeah.
Like I don't like, you know, not that they're bad, but sometimes the style is like it's like a little too like realistic or a little too cartoony or a little too extravagant.
Not Oda style.
Yeah, like yeah, exactly. So
There was one card. It's a Zoro card. And they actually just cropped out the image from him in the cover story. And I was like, dude, I used this for a thumbnail. Like, that's essentially what they did. They just cropped him out and just threw him on there. And there's one with Bartolomeo. And all they did was that they took a picture of his action figure and called it a day. I'm like, dude, stop. Like, I wouldn't say it's no effort because there are a lot of, like, really well-drawn One Piece card game cards. But for the most part, like, it all clashes. It doesn't make any sense. And what makes it worse is, you know how Pokemon has like the little borders at the bottom so you can read the text easier? One Piece doesn't do that, so sometimes the text will get like intermingled in with the card artwork, and you can't read what the hell the card does.
Yep, and there are some Pokemon cards that have done that too, where I've like just like because the full art ones sometimes, you know, are because they have like different kinds of full art and like art gallery, like trainer gallery, whatever. They have all sorts now, and some of them are the same way, where it's like, damn, like. I need to go get my glasses. You know, like I can't. Yeah. So
it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. But Sai, all right. Well, thank you so much for doing this, taking the time out of your day.
Sorry for the tangents, but hey, thank you so much for having me, man. I really freaking appreciate it. And hopefully I'll be on again soon.
Oh, you definitely will, man. And hopefully I'll be on your channel soon too.
For sure.
And everyone watching, we're gonna keep doing. It won't be Sai and I every time, but he will be back. But we're gonna be doing things like, or I will be doing things like this with every main channel video, where I'm gonna do like an attached video like this that's kind of loosely connected to the video before, so we can sort of continue the conversation. So if you like this, make sure to subscribe down below. Make sure to give it a like so it goes further in the algorithm because we're trying to grow this channel. And other than that, thank you for watching, and catch you guys later.